Chapter 1864. The success of the initial fusion gave Lin Feng enough confidence. The method was feasible, and he could do it. All that was left was to familiarize himself with the fusion and perfect it so that he could use it freely. This required time and constant experimentation. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. He started from scratch and explored little by little. The black vortex absorbed a huge amount of fluctuating spatial energy. His knowledge sea was slowly expanding. His saber technique was slowly improving. Lin Feng's strength was steadily increasing. Time flew by. 1 year and 2 months was actually quite short for a martial artist, especially when it came to cultivation. Just as Mo Wu had said, it was very difficult to find a direction and path in the broken space. Whoosh! The Void Gate's key was like a giant magnet, sucking in all the surrounding spatial energy and forming a complete spatial mystic realm, just like the first time Lin Feng had entered. In this space secret realm, the spatial elements tended to be stable. Even the spatial elements far away from the core area were no longer fluctuating intensely. Instead, they were suppressed by the stable space, as if gravity existed, causing all the spatial elements to form a resonating whole. The absorption speed has slowed down a lot. Lin Feng stopped practicing and looked into the distance. At present, the space he was in was no longer folding and changing. It was like a shooting star had become a floating star. As the space secret realm formed, everything tended to be calm. In a space secret realm that was constantly changing, it was very difficult to find a way out. However, in a stable space secret realm, one could distinguish the direction and position clearly. Finding a way out was only a matter of time. However, Lin Feng did not intend to leave. This was a natural place of protection. The experts in the core area of the Void Gate key could not leave. As long as he did not return to the core area and leave the space secret realm, he would not be in danger. At most, he would run into some other martial artists who had entered at the same time or Destiny race experts who had chased after him. I wonder how many Destiny race experts came in at that time? Lin Feng was very curious. Since he had entered until now, he had not met a single Destiny race expert. After all, the entire space was constantly changing, and it was very difficult to run into them. Now that the space secret realm has formed, can I run into them? Lin Feng smiled faintly. Instead, he was looking forward to it. Other than the 9-star powerhouses, the rest of the Destiny race powerhouses were nothing to him. If one came, he would kill one. If 2 came, he would kill 2. Outside the space secret realm, Wu Tsang and Wu Ergu stood facing each other, gazing at the space secret domain. Around them were a group of Destiny race warriors, who had completely surrounded the space secret domain. The 2 9-star warriors looked at each other and frowned. He didn't see Lin Feng. After waiting for a long time, the young man was nowhere to be seen. "I'll go in and take a look," Wu Tsang said. Wu Erai nodded. He was better at hunting and killing. Under his lightspeed pursuit, no human had been able to escape from his grasp. As long as that human dared to appear, he would definitely die without a burial place. Whoosh! Wu Tsang entered the space secret realm. Even if it was one-on-one, Wu Tsang would not care. He was a 9-star elite, a transcendent existence ranked 65th on the Origin Awakening list. A mere 8-star human would be killed on sight. The space secret domain was very big. Wu Tsang spread out his soul perception with an indifferent expression. He really wanted to know who that human was, to be able to anger the king to the point of sending 2 9-star experts to hunt him down. Suddenly, oh! Wu Tsang's eyes lit up as he felt the space ripple. His body flashed and instantly disappeared. In the secret realm, a 3-meter-tall demon race expert wearing dragon-scale armor broke through the space and appeared. His eyes were filled with surprise. The aura of an 8-star expert was quite powerful. There was a bloodline mark of 3 sharp fangs on his forehead. "Ha ha! I'm back!" The 8-star demon race warrior, Qi Hong roared and was extremely excited. After wandering in the boundless space secret realm for more than a year, he finally found the correct route and returned to the space secret realm. However, the 8-star Devil Clan expert, Qi Hong, didn't even have the time to be happy for a few seconds when a golden light suddenly appeared before his eyes. It was precisely Wu Tsang who stood on a golden treasure as he faintly floated in midair with a frown on his face, and he seemed to be slightly displeased as he glanced at Qi Hong. To be precise, he was disappointed. Qi Hong was stunned. He naturally recognized the 9-star elite in front of him. He knew most of the elites on the Origin Awakening list. When encountering such an elite, he had no choice but to escape. Qi Hong reacted almost instantly. Beads of sweat dripped down his forehead as he tried to escape. However, he was bound by a formless binding force. In an instant, countless 8-star experts appeared and surrounded him. I was happy for nothing. Die. Wu Tsang's eyes were cold and indifferent. The golden light in his hand rose, and the Eye of Destiny released a shocking power that instantly enveloped the 8-star demon race warrior, Qi Hong. Boom! At this moment, Lin Feng was still practicing his saber skills in the boundless void. Although the absorption speed of the black whirlpool was greatly reduced, it was a space secret realm after all. The absorption speed was still considerable. Moreover, the formation of the space secret realm didn't affect other aspects of cultivation. For example, his sea of consciousness was expanded, and his saber skills were sharpened. The space energy here is far from enough. Actually, after we get out, I can post a reward or issue a mission to find all kinds of newly formed space secret realms and enter them to absorb the space energy. I believe that the black whirlpool will be full in no time. Lin Feng nodded. There was a way to improve the black whirlpool. However, there was still no way to deal with the light god pattern and dark god pattern. After all, there were too few bloodline treasures. When the time comes, I'll see if I can buy them at a high price. Lin Feng pondered for a moment. This was all he could do for now. Compared to the dark god pattern, the light god pattern was stronger and closer to the 3rd stage. This was because he had eaten more light elemental fruits of heaven and earth. There were still many light elemental fruits of heaven and earth left. When the time comes, I can try and see if I can reach the threshold of the 3rd stage bloodline breakthrough if I eat all of them. Lin Feng waved his saber casually. Every time he waved it, it contained the true meaning of Space Seal. Wherever the saber passed, it would cause the space to vibrate and stop. Now it was easy for him to do so. The increase in his combat power had been completely consolidated. In terms of attack power, I should be comparable to a top-tier 8-star now, right? Lin Feng smiled. His strongest point was his attack power. Having a top-tier 8-star attack power meant that he could compete with a top-tier 8-star Destiny race expert. If the Black Whirlpool could be improved by another level, his attack power would be able to break through the 8-star barrier and reach the 9-star barrier. The future was promising. Suddenly, Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. With his Heaven Eye cultivation, he sensed an aura approaching. After 1 year and 2 months, he finally saw his first living person. Chapter 1865. Damn it! Where is the exit? The 8-star elite warrior Wu Huang searched everywhere, and his Eye of Destiny appeared. He had reached his limit, but the secret realm was huge, and what he could find was just a drop in the ocean. Furthermore, this wasn't the Heaven's Will boundary, so he couldn't use the Eye of Heaven. It's all because of that damned human. The 8-star elite expert Wu Huang couldn't help but feel angry. A mere human had turned the entire Wu Qianshan tribe upside down. He was the appointed next chief of the Wu Qianshan tribe. The old chief, Wu Xie, was about to step down. Now that he was leaving behind such a mess, his eyes were red with anxiety. Humph! Don't let me catch you. If I don't skin you alive, I'll write my name Wu Huang upside down. Wu Huang was very confident in his own strength. That day, that human Lin Feng had caused a ruckus in the Wu Qianxian tribe, but wasn't he defeated by Wu Miao and forced to flee? Wu Huang's strength wasn't any weaker than Wu Miao's. If Wu Miao could defeat that human, he could too. Wu Huang dashed through the spatial secret realm, while his piercingly cold and arrogant gaze swept the surroundings. Firstly, he was looking for a way out, and secondly, he was looking for traces of Lin Feng. He frequently puckered his lips, ground his teeth, and grumbled to himself. Suddenly, whoosh! A chill ran down his spine as an inexplicable fear crept into his heart. Wu Huang widened his eyes in shock. Almost instantly, his first reaction was to condense a light yellow halo around his body. Shwa! 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 A group of 7-star slaves instantly appeared in the surroundings, and they were as fast as lightning. Boom! A terrifying attack of annihilation exploded out with a rumble. It was like 2 stars had collided, and it erupted with monstrous might. All the 7-star servants were instantly annihilated by this terrifying attack. Wu Huang's mind went blank, and he instantly felt intense pain in his heart. The surrounding space seemed to have solidified as the elements of light and darkness were in chaos. Wu Huang coughed up blood again and again. He was seriously injured, and the world was spinning around him. His vision was blurry, and he seemed to see a figure wearing a black armor with a dragon head on it. The figure's cold gaze seemed to be looking down on him. Pung! With a buzz in his head, Wu Huang instantly lost consciousness. 4 treasures! An 8-star Eye of Destiny. Lin Feng put away the spoils of the battle, and didn't even spare Wu Huang another glance before stepping on the Cloudlight shuttle and instantly flying off. He was an 8-star Destiny race expert, someone who could strike fear into the hearts of the 8 great forces in the Origin Awakening continent. Now, he was being hunted like a beast. When the death spiritual shock lost its effect, the Destiny race wasn't much stronger than the other 5 races. Completely countered by Lin Feng. In the entire Origin Awakening continent, there were very few people whose souls were stronger than those of the Destiny race at the same level, and they could be counted on one hand. However, Lin Feng happened to be one of them, and he was not afraid of Death's soul attack at all. His attack was comparable to that of a top-notch 8-star expert, and his soul was so powerful that the Destiny race's experts couldn't detect it. Thus, one-on-one killing would become extremely simple. Lin Feng didn't take the initiative to search. Wu Huang was just unlucky. He found the way to Lin Feng's location and just happened to bump into the muzzle of the gun. If he really wanted to find the Destiny race's experts, he wouldn't know where to go in the boundless void. Waiting for rabbits. Lin Feng's strategy was quite simple. Moreover, he didn't plan to find the Destiny race's experts to kill here. Firstly, he didn't know how many Destiny race experts were chasing him. Secondly, he didn't lack the Eye of Destiny or Supreme Treasures. If he bumped into them, he wouldn't have to be polite. Even if he didn't attack, the Destiny race's experts would attack. It didn't matter if he didn't bump into them. I've absorbed most of the dew essence. It's time to absorb the light-type heaven and earth fruit. Lin Feng continued to hone his saber technique. Now, his Silver Plateau saber technique and Holy Land saber technique had reached 100% perfection. His saber Heavenly Tao had reached the peak of marrow mastery, and he could already begin to comprehend the next level, all comprehension. However, breaking through required accumulation and opportunity. It wasn't something that could be broken through just because he wanted to. Touching it didn't mean he could master it. If I comprehend all comprehension, or if the black vortex reaches the 4th stage, my attack will be able to break through to 8-star. Lin Feng knew very well that this was the key to leaving this place. He could compete with a 9-star Destiny race expert. Only then would he be in an invincible position. With the temperament of the Destiny race, they won't let me go. I've killed so many Destiny race experts and destroyed so many Destiny race tribes. Their king is probably hopping mad with rage right now. He probably won't be able to vent his anger unless he kills me 1,000 times over. Lin Feng laughed self-deprecatingly. It was easy to imagine how angry the Destiny race would be. There was a high chance that they had buried a large number of experts outside the space secret realm, waiting for him to walk into their trap. It was very likely that a 9-star expert was leading them. After all, everyone knew that he had caused trouble in Wu Qianxin's tribe and killed an 8-star Destiny race expert. If the Destiny race wasn't stupid, they would definitely send a 9-star expert to kill him. I have a great advantage against the Destiny race. Their Eye of Destiny attacks are ineffective against me. Whether it's illusions or chaotic effects, they can only rely on controlling objects and slaves to attack me. It's very difficult for my defense to reach the peak of 8-star, but it's possible for my attack to surpass 8-star. Lin Feng was very clear about his advantages and disadvantages. Since he couldn't make up for his disadvantages, he might as well make them bigger. Moreover, even if he increased his defense to the peak of 8-star, he wouldn't be able to defend against the 9-star Destiny race expert's attack. It was better to strengthen his attacks and fight to the death. When enemies met on a narrow path, the brave would win. Let's see who had a tougher life and better luck. Right now, he had to cultivate. He had to do everything he could to increase his combat power. Under the powerful pressure, Lin Feng's saber techniques improved even faster. The combination of the Eclipse Mystic Civ Saber and the Perak Demon Saber became more and more proficient. With the help of the high-level Space True Meaning, there were more changes and more power. Gulp. Gulp. One fruit of heaven and earth after another fell into his stomach like cabbages, strengthening his body and increasing his light talent. Lin Feng swept through countless Destiny race tribes. He didn't get the dew essence, but he didn't lack the light fruit of heaven and earth. To the Destiny race, the light fruit of heaven and earth wasn't very useful. First, they had a small number of light fruits of heaven and earth, and each tribe member could only eat a limited number of light fruits of heaven and earth. Second, the Destiny race cultivated the Tao of the soul and had very little understanding of the Tao of light. Therefore, every tribe had a lot of light fruits of heaven and earth, regardless of whether they were small or medium-sized tribes. In the end, it was Lin Feng who had benefited from it. After consuming so many light elemental fruits of heaven and earth, his physique had been strengthened, and his light elemental talent had risen steadily. Whoosh, whoosh. The divine pattern of light kept flashing. As the fruits of heaven and earth entered his stomach, it gradually became saturated and absorbed to the limit. Whoosh. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He was pleasantly surprised. Divine Pattern of Light, Bloodline Advancement. Chapter 1866. Qi. Qi. The divine patterns of light were like white snakes on the surface of his body, intertwining with each other. The white light was bright and seeped into his skin. Those were the essence of his bloodline. Cluck. Cluck. Lin Feng felt that his bones, cells, and meridians were all changing as the divine patterns of light evolved. This was an evolution of the level of life, a transformation of the genes. The bloodline seed hidden in the depths of his body had already begun to sprout. A tall, black-haired figure suddenly flashed in his mind. He stood tall and upright, holding up the sky. He was wearing golden armor like a divine soldier or a divine general. His body emitted a clear aura that made the sky tremble. Through the armor, he could clearly see the divine patterns of light floating on the surface of his body. They were several times more complicated than his own. They were connected and contained unparalleled power. Clang! The black-haired giant held a blood-red saber in his hand. He was domineering. Amidst the roar, the blood-red saber suddenly erupted with powerful energy. It contained the Tao of light and darkness, perfectly combining together. With light and darkness as the source, every swing of the saber was swift and fierce, violent and natural. Boom, boom, boom. The saber energy was monstrous, piercing the sky. Golden figures appeared in front of him. They were like divine soldiers or divine generals. Any one of them could instantly kill a 9-star expert of origin awakened continent. They emitted a terrifying aura, but they could not block even half a move of the blood-red saber. Rumble! Everywhere the black-haired giant passed, everything was annihilated. His saber moves contained the Tao of light and darkness. They were simple and direct, but also contained endless mysteries. Every attack used the power of the Tao of light and darkness as the source. Every move appeared in front of him like slow motion. 10,000 heavenly saber. For ancient words appeared in his mind, but they were so clear. He did not recognize them, but he knew their meaning. It was very strange. It was like an ancient inheritance surging into his mind. In an instant, boom! His head buzzed. The black-haired giant swung his saber, and every move entered his mind. It was as if a saber had carved it into the depths of his soul. Every move, every detail, even the slight shake of his wrist or the rotation of his feet, was incomparably clear. His body and consciousness seemed to have merged into that realm. He kept swinging his saber and exploding. Boom! 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 Lin Feng felt his consciousness being submerged in the realm of the endless saber. After a long, long time, Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes. His body trembled, and his chest rose and fell rapidly. He opened his mouth and took a deep breath. A dream of grandeur? No, it's true. Lin Feng clenched his fists. His palms were still sweaty. The earlier scene was even clearer in his mind. Every move of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber appeared before his eyes. First move, ashes to ashes. Lin Feng muttered to himself. His hands moved unconsciously according to the memories in his mind, but it was like a cat learning the steps of a tiger, imitating the east but failing miserably, without the slightest bit of power to speak of. Even if his saber penetration had reached the peak of 100% perfection, it would still be difficult for him to comprehend the profundity of this move. 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber mastery. After comprehending the first move, I've mastered 20% of all the palms. After comprehending the second move, I've mastered 40% of my palm mastery. After comprehending the fifth move, I've mastered 100% of all the palms. The information in his mind was very clear. He seemed to know everything from the first move to the fifth move. However, other than the first move, he could not remember the other 4 moves. It was as if they were covered by a layer of blurry fog. Looks like I'll have to do it step by step. I'll start learning from the first move, ashes to ashes. Lin Feng nodded. His bloodline had ancient inherited memories. He did not expect that the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber was an ancient saber move that had mastered all the saber moves. When the black-haired giant performed it, its power was boundless. It also perfectly matched the light and darkness paths of his bloodline. Even if I only mastered 20% of the first move, ashes to ashes, I'm afraid it's close to 100% of the power of a normal saber technique. Lin Feng could feel the power of ashes to ashes. It was far beyond his imagination. Compared to the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber, the Silver Plateau saber technique that he created and the Holy Land saber technique were far inferior in every aspect. This was normal. The ancient saber moves that had been passed down through countless years, improved over and over again. Its power was naturally not something a newcomer like him could compare to. Walking the path of the ancients was far simpler and easier than the path that he created himself. To put it simply, he was standing on the shoulders of giants. One day, I'll create a saber move that truly belongs to me. Lin Feng did not feel any psychological barriers to learning the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber. Only by mastering all the saber techniques and mastering all the saber techniques could he truly create a stronger saber technique. He could not just create a car behind closed doors. Moreover, this was his bloodline inheritance, a broad path that belonged to him alone. After learning the first move, ashes to ashes, my saber technique realm will be able to break through the saber heavenly Tao into the marrow and truly enter the mastery realm. Lin Feng held the saber in his hand and was wild with joy. The awakening of his bloodline and the comprehension of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber were completely unexpected gains. The improvement of his light talent and the strengthening of his life rating were normal gains from the transformation of his bloodline. The improvement of his physical strength and the evolution of his life rating had caused Lin Feng's basic strength to rise to another level. He had officially crossed the threshold of 8-star and become an ordinary 8-star expert. Facing the 8-star destiny race, Lin Feng was no longer afraid. Right now, he was confident that he could kill even a top 8-star expert. The increase in his strength not only increased his battle prowess, but it also increased his future and upper limit. Practicing the saber. While adapting to his new body, his speed, strength, and defense all had huge breakthroughs. His body, which had been gradually saturated by absorbing the fruits of heaven and earth, was now empty and could be improved again. To step into the 9-star level, he had broken through all the obstacles. Lin Feng absorbed the remaining fruits of heaven and earth of light and used his bloodline talent to the maximum extent while pondering the new 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber. Ashes to ashes, the black-haired giant is performed by a saber. But my sabers, whether it's the Eclipse Mystic Saber or the Parak Demon Saber, can't withstand the integration of light and darkness at the same time. Just controlling them is impossible. Lin Feng frowned deeply. After practicing the saber, problems came one after another. First, there was the problem of the saber. At present, he didn't seem to have a saber comparable to the black-haired giant's blood-red saber. But even if he had such a saber, he couldn't control it. His control of light and darkness was still in the most basic state. I can only start by using both sabers at the same time. Let's see if there are any improvements or gains if I continue practicing. Lin Feng had no choice. Although his combat strength seemed to be quite good now, compared to a true top expert, he was still very far away. In the ancient era of the inherited memories, he was even weaker than the golden-armored warrior who was instantly killed by the black-haired giant. One step at a time. I will definitely become stronger. Lin Feng held 2 sabers in his hands, his fighting spirit clear. Chapter 1867. In the boundless void, a figure was practicing his saber. He held 2 sabers in his hand, but it was a little out of place. Upon closer inspection, the saber moves executed by the 2 sabers were completely different, but they were like 2 symmetrical poles that seemed to be connected by countless threads. Split saber. Cultivating the ancient super saber technique, myriad obscuring heavenly saber, he naturally encountered more than one problem. From the initial problem of the saber to the current split saber, they were all unavoidable difficulties. The saber technique executed by the black-haired giant was a complete saber technique. It was executed with 1 saber. Lin Feng tried for a long time to use the same myriad obscuring heavenly saber with 2 sabers, but the result was neither fish nor fowl. Even if they were completely synchronized, he couldn't find the rhythm and fluctuation. He had no clue at all. Not to mention, unleashing the power of the saber technique was harder than ascending to the heavens. Hence, he chose to split saber. He split the saber move into 2 because the myriad obscuring heavenly saber was originally 2 in 1. However, the black-haired giant executed it too perfectly. The 2 powers were tightly combined as if they were completely fused, so it didn't feel like 2 in 1 saber move. However, if they were separated, they were actually 2 sets of saber technique. 1 set of light, 1 set of darkness. Lin Feng spent a lot of effort to split them. This was because the saber technique was deeply imprinted in his mind. Otherwise, with his current saber technique realm and strength, he would be far from being able to split them. Saber of light. It's easier to execute and comprehend the saber of light. Lin Feng's body lit up with light runes as he brandished the Eclipse Mystic Civ Saber. The third stage of the divine pattern of light contained powerful strength and bloodline. Not only did it release the origin of light, but it was also easier to sense the great Tao of light. It was also easier to use the power of the Tao of light. In comparison, the second stage of the Dark Mageweth was immediately superior. The difference of one bloodline was already huge. In terms of the Dark Mageweth alone, the second stage should be in the Origin Awakened continent's middle or even lower middle bloodline. However, in terms of the divine pattern of light alone, the third stage is already in the Origin Awakened continent's high-class bloodline. Lin Feng was very clear. However, he actually had three types of bloodlines: the divine pattern of light, the divine pattern of darkness, and the black vortex. The three of them combined were enough to rival the top-tier bloodlines of the Destiny race, or even stronger. In the future, when my Dark Mageweth evolves to the third stage, my bloodline will truly stand at the peak of Origin Awakened continent. Currently, his Dark Mageweth was inferior to his Light Mageweth. Even his comprehension of the myriad obscurity Heavenly Blade was somewhat hindered. But compared to the past, he had improved a lot. With the improvement of the divine mark of light, his comprehension of the light element's myriad obscuring Heavenly Blade had increased rapidly. The divine mark of light itself was almost symmetrical with the dark element's myriad obscuring Heavenly Blade, and they were connected. Thus, his comprehension of the dark element's myriad obscuring Heavenly Blade had increased by quite a bit. It was just like walking down a road. Although he had turned off the lights and was walking in the dark, he still had to feel around. It was easier than walking down a new path. 100 years of bitter cultivation. Apart from a few dozen fruits of heaven and earth, the rest were all in his stomach. The first move of the 10,000 obscuring Heavenly Blade, Ashes of Ashes, was also slightly accomplished. Although he still did not understand the main points, he could finally use it. Chi. Two separate waves of energy shot out from the two blades, bringing with them a destructive power. They produced a violent explosion, causing the entire space to shake violently. Even Lin Feng himself was pushed back by the shockwave. The impact was quite strong. The explosion is very strong, but it is completely uncontrollable. After seeing the black-haired giant's blade technique and the power of his attacks, Lin Feng now knew that although the explosion caused by the attack seemed powerful, it was not. Because most of the power of the attack was scattered in the explosion. Simply put, it was a waste. The true power was completely concentrated in one point, condensing all the explosive power into one point of attack, suppressing it to the limit, suppressing it again and again until the attack completely exploded. This was the myriad obscurity Heavenly Blade. An attack with the power suppressed to the limit, without any explosion. Only annihilation. Like the annihilation of a black hole, when the power reached the limit, it would directly annihilate everything, turning them into ashes. There was no earth-shaking explosion. The explosion was like the black-haired giant's attack, simple and direct but unparalleled. It was like the power of a god, annihilating everything with a raise of his hand. This was an attack that had reached the limit. So the first move is called Ashes of Ashes. Lin Feng understood a lot after practicing the blade for 100 years. The first move was not difficult, but it was also not easy. This was the key to the myriad obscurity Heavenly Blade. The way to master it was to combine the power of the light and darkness Tao into one, instead of colliding with each other to create a violent explosion. The best technique, the best control. Because Lin Feng felt that when the black-haired giant used the myriad obscurity Heavenly Blade, the existence of the black vortex could be said to be insignificant. He could not sense it at all, and the main body was the light and darkness Tao patterns, which were the same as his thoughts. Right now, the black vortex was the main character. The black-haired giant's black vortex, light Tao patterns, and darkness Tao patterns should all be at the same level. How did he do it, making the black vortex seem like it did not exist at all? Lin Feng could not figure it out. Without a teacher's guidance, he could only rely on his interpretation of the saber moves and his analysis of the bloodline. He was a little confused and hazy. However, Lin Feng knew that this was the key to improvement, and also the key to the annihilation of the attack. Other than practicing the saber, he was still practicing the saber. There were no shortcuts. Only when he really started practicing would he be able to find all kinds of problems and have some insights. To Lin Feng, this myriad obscurity heavenly blade was no less than any outstanding treasure. It could be said that it had completely lit up the path ahead of him. After comprehending the first move, he would be able to reach the apex of the saber technique realm. If he comprehended everything, his apex of the saber would be 100%. 100 years after another. Time flew by as he cultivated. During this period, Lin Feng met many cultivators from other factions. Although they glared at him, they did not dare to attack him. They could only leave angrily. Lin Feng neither fought nor chased after them because he knew that they were indignant. They were all forced into the spatial wreckage because of him. Lin Feng did not care about being remembered. They did not know each other, so why should he accommodate them? If they were really capable, they could come and take revenge on him. Those who only knew how to bare their fangs and brandish their claws were like clowns. However, it's been a long time since I've seen a Destiny powerhouse. Could it be that the others have all found a way out and returned? Or are there only a few Destiny powerhouses who chased me in? Lin Feng casually waved the Eclipse Mystic Saber in his hand, and a dull explosion sounded in the air. He had finally reached lesser mastery of the first move of the Myriad Obscurity Heavenly Blade. I wonder if there are still Destiny powerhouses waiting outside the secret realm? Lin Feng smiled and continued to practice his saber. Chapter 1868. Lin Feng's guess was right. The Destiny tribe had set up an inescapable trap for him outside the space secret realm. With Wu Tsang and Wu Erai, the two 9-star Destiny clan experts, leading the way, they had already gathered several hundred Destiny clan experts. They surrounded the area so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. Not to mention Lin Feng, even a 9-star expert would not be able to escape. However, they waited for 500 years but nothing happened. Swoosh! Wu Ergu opened his eyes and stood up. His entire body was like a shining lightsaber. His sharp aura seemed to be able to tear apart all defenses. His sharp eyes stared at the space secret realm, and he said coldly, "What do we do next?" Wu Tsang shrugged and curled his lips. He was also helpless. They waited for 500 years but nothing happened. Occasionally, a few experts from the Origin Awakened continent would escape from the space secret realm, but they were all killed by them. From the beginning to the end, they didn't see the human's figure. It was as if he had disappeared from the world. Completely disappeared. What a waste of time. Wu Ergu's face was cold and he frowned. Obviously, he wasn't very happy. What can we do? You have to obey the king's orders. Wu Tsang sighed. Last 500 years. If he doesn't appear, I'll leave. Wu Ergu closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. His voice was cold and Wu Tsang couldn't do anything about it. If they really fought, he wouldn't be able to defeat Wu Ergu. It could be seen from his ranking on the Origin Awaken list. Wu Ergu was an expert ranked in the top 50 among the 9-star experts. This brat. Wu Tsang sighed and looked at the space secret realm with his hands behind his back. Is he going to hide for a few eras? Wu Tsang was helpless. He could enter the space secret realm but he couldn't go outside. If he couldn't find the human brat, he could only wait aimlessly. Just as Wu Ergu said, it was a complete waste of time. It should be known that they were all 9-star Destiny race experts, and time was precious. Moreover, the turbulent void would open soon. It had been more than 3,000 eras since it last opened. Not only him, but the other kings of the Destiny tribe had also been waiting for a long time. There's no choice. Let's wait. At most, we'll wait until the turbulent void opens. At that time, even if we leave, we'll be able to answer to the king. Wu Tsang pondered. At most, he would be scolded by the king. Compared to the opportunity in the void, it was nothing. 600 years, 700 years, 800 years. Lin Feng had been practicing his saber without sleep or rest for an unknown period of time. He was completely immersed in it and had no other thoughts other than practicing his saber. However, there was one Destiny race expert who was different. For 800 years, he had been doing the same thing. Find Lin Feng. He was the chief of the Wu Qianshan tribe, Wu Xie. Wu Qianshan's tribe had been destroyed, and 3 8-star martial artists had been killed. How could they not vent their anger? How could they not fight for their dignity? What's more, this human Lin Feng was wanted by the king, so he was extremely valuable. Where are you hiding? Wu Xie's gaze was ferocious and his actions were unreasonable, but he was very experienced. He expected that Lin Feng would hide here because Lin Feng would not be able to leave. There must be an army of the Destiny race outside. With this human's cunning and cautious personality, he would not leave without hiding for a few eras. Therefore, he had to search the entire void as soon as possible to find Lin Feng. As long as he killed Lin Feng, he would be able to vent his anger and regain his dignity. Moreover, he would be able to get the king's approval and bring the Wu Qianshan tribe to a higher level. It was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Compared to searching for a needle in a haystack, the way out was easier to find. Wu Xie had found it 500 years ago, but he gave up. Because if he left this void, he would not be able to come back. He still had things to do. He had to find that cunning human Lin Feng and then kill him. With his 8-star martial artist's strength, it would be too easy to kill such a human. Wu Xie's eyes were cold. 8 forks opened like lightning with some wrinkles. 8-star martial artists were very close to 9-star, but it was not easy to break through. In terms of sensing ability, Wu Xie was almost comparable to a 9-star martial artist. That was because he had a treasure. What Lin Feng didn't know was that all the chiefs of large tribes would be given an outstanding true treasure. It was a secret passed down from generation to generation. Many 8-star overlords didn't know about it, and Wu Qin didn't know either. Wu Xie's outstanding treasure was the soul-type Mosu. It was not only a soul defense treasure, but also a unique soul-sensing ability. Because Wu Xie had the Mosu, Lin Feng was still discovered that day, even though he was very careful and only sensed it as gently as a breeze. Because the Mosuyu would react. It was not Lin Feng's fault that he was discovered that day, but because his opponent had an outstanding treasure. This is? The Mosuyu reacted again, like a radar, clearly detecting every area. Wu Xie opened his eyes wide, and the wrinkles on his forehead relaxed. He was wild with joy. He sensed it. It was an extremely familiar aura, one that he had not been searching for a long time. I finally found it. Human Lin Feng, let's see where you can run to this time. The eye of destiny on Wu Xie's forehead opened in extreme anger. He roared in his heart and instantly revealed a towering aura as he charged toward Lin Feng. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. In the endless void, Lin Feng was practicing his saber day after day. Although 800 years had passed, he still maintained his original mindset and comprehended the first move of the myriad obscurity heavenly saber, Ashes of Ashes. Now, not only had his light element reached initial success, but his dark element had also reached initial success. However, he was still far away from mastering it. Just fusing the two into one and unleashing the power of Qi was harder than reaching the sky. Even after 800 years, he still had no clue. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. He was not in a hurry to go out anyway. It won't be too late to fuse them and unleash the power of Qi. when my light and dark elements reach greater success and I grasp the essence of saber techniques. The stronger the saber technique, the more familiar he was with it, and the stronger the power he could unleash, the easier it would be to reach the realm of Qi. Lin Feng had a very clear plan for improving his saber technique. However, during the quiet training process, there were often uninvited guests who came to disturb him. What a strong aura! Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He smiled and the Eclipse Mystic Saber in his hand shone. He was very familiar with this aura. It was the chief of the Wu Qianshan tribe, Wu Xie, who had been chasing after him. He did not expect him to come here and discover him. Waiting for an opportunity is quite useful. Lin Feng's saber flashed as his battle intent surged. He had been practicing saber techniques for 800 years and was itching for a fight. Now that a strong opponent had come, he could test it out. Just how strong was he now? Good! Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he went up to meet him. Chapter 1869. Boom! The battle was about to start. Lin Feng's senses were stronger than Wu Xie's, but Wu Xie had the superior true treasure, the Matua Reaper, and he had also discovered Lin Feng's presence. Both of them could sense each other's presence, and neither could gain the upper hand. Whoosh! 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 Wu Xie's 7-star slaves appeared. There were 7 of them. Almost all of them were 7-star top-notch experts. Affected by Wu Xie's strength, the 7-star slave's strength could not exceed 8-star. Even so, the 7-star top-notch experts combined as one, and their combat power was shocking. Moreover, Wu Xie himself was also an 8-star top-notch expert. Whoosh! Wu Xie's Eye of Destiny shone brightly. He directly used his innate ability, Chaos, on Lin Feng. The 8-star Chaos was enough to make a martial artist of the same level fall into a state of confusion. No matter how strong one's resistance was, they would lose their balance and weaken their combat power. The subsequent attacks, including the slave's encirclement, were twice as effective for Wu Xie. However, bang! Almost instantly Wu Xie's expression changed. Chaos was like a needle piercing into a hard rock. It had no effect at all. His sole defense? Wu Xie vaguely understood why this human was still safe and sound. He must have an extremely powerful soul defense treasure on him. He's not even afraid of the soul attack of death. Wu Xie immediately changed his strategy after his first attack failed. Hua, emerald green light shot out from both ends of his arms like 2 leopard heads. The eyes of each of the emerald green leopard heads shone brightly as they shot out along with Wu Xie's roar. Controlling attack. Wu Xie naturally had a controlling treasure. Basically, all Destiny race experts had similar attack. The only difference was the quality of the treasure. The control and power of an 8-star top-notch expert was naturally extraordinary. Even an 8-star top-notch expert would not dare to block it easily. Lin Feng seemed to be the same. Instead of advancing, he retreated. The sabers in his hands flashed with a strange light as he attacked the 2 leopard heads in a strange manner. With a boom, the green leopard heads exploded with shocking power. They broke through Lin Feng's attack and went straight for his body. However, they were weakened by the previous attack. Lin Feng's black dragon demonic armor blocked them instantly. Bang! Lin Feng was pushed back by the force. Go! Wu Xie's eyes lit up, and the corners of his mouth curled up coldly. Of the 7-star slaves under his command, 3 remained by his side, while the other 4 charged toward Lin Feng. With one strike, he already knew that Lin Feng's strength was mediocre. An 8-star ordinary cultivator with an extremely powerful soul defensive treasure. It's no wonder that he was able to kill my clansman. Wu Xie made an accurate judgment. But at most, he can only kill an ordinary 8-star expert of the same level. An 8-star elite strength is stronger than his. What Wu Xie didn't know was that the next chief of the Wu Qianshan tribe, the 8-star elite warrior Wu Huang, had already been killed by Lin Feng. At that time, Lin Feng's strength was far from what it was now. Boom! Boom! With Wu Xie's support from afar, the 4 7-star slaves became more and more courageous as they fought. Their joint attacks were extremely fierce. On the other hand, Lin Feng was restrained in every way. Although he had 2 swords in his hands, he always felt that his swordsmanship was clumsy, as if something was missing. Only his defense is strong. Wu Xie sneered, but he was already relieved. In his opinion, he already had the upper hand. If he kept defending, he would definitely lose. It was only a matter of time before he broke through Lin Feng's defense and killed him. The elite true treasures attacked continuously, and 2 emerald leopard heads came alive in Wu Xie's hands. Actual combat practice. It was rare to meet a good opponent. Wouldn't it be a pity if he killed him so easily? After training hard for 800 years, Lin Feng was looking for an opponent so that he could have a real fight. He wanted to test out the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade and the cooperation between light and darkness. It just so happened that the 8-star top-notch chieftain Wu Xie arrived. If it was before, he would still be a little afraid of him. But now Lin Feng didn't care at all. Peng! Dang! Lin Feng's eyes flashed from time to time. The image of the black-haired giant appeared in his mind. At this moment, there seemed to be an inexplicable power in his body that made his swordsmanship more spirited, and his movements smoother and easier. From beginner to small success, and small success to large success, Lin Feng had been groping by himself. He didn't even have a battle. It was useless to talk about strategies on paper. Battles were won by fighting. Now it was a good time to test his swordsmanship against a 7-star elite. If it was a close-range 8-star elite, it wouldn't be easy for him to test his swordsmanship. To Lin Feng, a 7-star elite was a ready-made sparring partner. Now, his physical defense had reached 8-star. A few 7-star elites couldn't break his defense at all. As long as he could defend against Chief Wu Xie's attacks, he would be invincible. To Lin Feng it was too easy. So there's a problem with my connection of this move. This move of the dark element overlaps with the light element. I can't unleash the strongest power. Lin Feng practiced his swordsmanship while comprehending. The swordsmanship that was originally stumbling became smoother little by little. It was as if he had cleared the obstacles and kicked away the pebbles on the road. The divine pattern of light flickered slowly. It was much stronger than the dark pattern. Lin Feng's Eclipse Mystic Civ Saber's attack was also slightly stronger than the Parak Fiend Saber. Including his comprehension of swordsmanship, the light element was stronger than the dark element. He had more comprehension. I understand now. So that's how it is. Lin Feng's moves were connected exquisitely. Under the radiance of the divine pattern of light, he became more and more proficient. He vaguely understood the true essence of the swordsmanship. On the other side, Chief Wu Xie was still very confident in the beginning. However, as time passed, his expression became more and more ugly. He was extremely solemn. He sensed that something was amiss. In the entire battle, it was as if he was being led by the nose. The 4 7-star slaves could still have the upper hand in the beginning. Later on, they completely became target. Lin Feng seemed to be dodging his attacks with difficulty every time. However, until now, Lin Feng wasn't injured. It can't be. He has been hiding his strength all this time? Chief Wu Xie felt a chill run down his spine. His face was ghastly pale. He inexplicably staggered 2 steps back. He looked at Lin Feng in front of him. His lips were dry. Chief Wu Xie couldn't help but clench his fists tightly. His heart was beating rapidly. Suddenly, boom, boom, boom. Explosions resounded in the front, causing the space to tremble violently. 4 7-star slaves were killed in an instant. Lin Feng stomped on the air and arrived in front of them in the blink of an eye. Swish, swish, swish. He killed another 2 7-star slaves. No. Chief Wu Xie finally understood what had happened. It turned out that this human Lin Feng had been using him to practice his swordsmanship since the beginning. Murderous intent flashed in Lin Feng's eyes. The Silver Plateau swordsmanship, the Holy Land swordsmanship, and the spatial lock resonated in an instant. They instantly formed a terrifying force that directly blocked all of Chief Wu Xie's escape route. Before he mastered the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade, this was Lin Feng's strongest attack. It was enough to kill a peak 8-star expert. Boom. Chapter 1870. Without servants, the Destiny race's power would be greatly reduced. Especially since Lin Feng was immune to soul attacks and soul attack. In addition, he had strong defense, no blind spots, and terrifying speed. He could be said to be the Destiny race's nemesis. Therefore, even though Wu Xie, a top-notch 8-star powerhouse, was stronger than Lin Feng, he was still defeated. Wu Xie couldn't even unleash 10% of his power. With only a group of 7-star servants, he was naturally no match for Lin Feng. After his death, he left behind a pile of supreme treasures and a peak 8-star Eye of Destiny. 5. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. In his opinion, the Destiny race was a race with obsessive-compulsive disorder. They couldn't accept imperfections. They would fight to the end even if one of their people was killed. They would chase after you for tens of thousands of light years if their tribe was attacked. It was even more so when it came to the distribution of treasures. A 6-star expert had 2 ordinary treasures. A 7-star martial artist would definitely have an elite true treasure and 2 ordinary true treasures. An 8-star great being would definitely have 2 elite true treasures and 2 ordinary true treasures. But now the 8-star expert Wu Xie had dropped 5 treasures. It was very strange. Lin Feng put them away one by one. Among them, 2 were ordinary treasures and 2 were elite treasures. As soon as the last one fell into his hand, he felt a pure and powerful soul power that moved his heart. A soul-type treasure. Lin Feng's heart was moved, and his eyes were bright. This was a crystal-clear indigo-green jade. There were various complicated patterns on it, and each pattern seemed to contain deep mysteries. Holding this indigo-green jade in his hand, he seemed to be able to feel its heartbeat, which was full of vitality. If he didn't have a treasure like the 10,000 origin mustard stone, his soul would have been impacted and resonated with it. Its energy had already surpassed the level of an exquisite treasure. An outstanding treasure? Lin Feng was surprised. He carefully weighed the indigo jade in his hand. He didn't expect that he would be lucky enough to obtain an outstanding treasure here. In the Origin Awakened continent, ordinary and elite treasures could be bought as long as one had money. But an outstanding treasure, it was a true supreme-grade treasure that was priceless. It was a super treasure that could not be measured by money. Right now, he had one of them. Lin Feng's gaze landed on Wu Xie, who had already fallen into the void, and a glint flashed across his eyes. Is it because he's a top-notch 8-star expert? Or did he do something that caused the king of the Destiny tribe to reward him? There were many possibilities, and one of the most likely possibilities was chieftain. Lin Feng nodded. Maybe it's because he's the chief of a large tribe. He's the face of a tribe, and his status is precious. That's why he has an excellent treasure. However, this superior treasure doesn't seem to be of much use to me. Lin Feng thought for a moment. He already had the 10,000 origin mustard stone, which was even more powerful. Combining it with another soul defense type excellent true treasure felt like adding feet to a snake. However, this kind of outstanding true treasure didn't require any effort to cultivate. Just like battle armor, it could be used as long as it fit. Right now, it was in his hands. If he were to just leave it there, it would be a waste. Let's talk about that later. In any case, it won't be too late to remove the connection when I can leave the Destiny realm. Lin Feng thought to himself. His right hand, which was holding the indigo jade, suddenly flashed with a ray of light that surrounded the ancient jade. His heart was connected, and his soul was extremely excited. He could completely feel the enormous energy of the indigo jade and its powerful spiritual consciousness. It was like a hidden expert, arrogant and independent from the world. But suddenly, the 10,000 origin mustard stone vibrated in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Like the sound of Sanskrit, the sky shook, and the indigo jade flashed rapidly. Like a playful child being reprimanded by its father, it instantly returned to its original position and became very quiet. Swish, his blood merged. The indigo jade streaked across a brilliant light and slowly disappeared in his right hand. Excellent true treasure, Mohuyu. A large amount of information poured into Lin Feng's mind. Everything about the Mohuyu was imprinted in his mind. This was indeed a soul defense type treasure. It could resist illusions, weaken soul attacks, and mental influence. At the same time, it had powerful sensing abilities because the Mohuyu itself was an existence with spiritual consciousness. It could enhance sensing abilities and also defend against sensing abilities. All of this was within his expectations. After all, it was an excellent true treasure. It was normal for it to have these abilities. But this was far from the true value of an excellent true treasure. Ability Mohuyu. Lin Feng's heart trembled and he was faintly excited. This excellent true treasure Mohuyu, in addition to its normal defensive abilities, had an additional special ability, Mohuyu. The ability to enhance the cultivation level of the puppet. The higher the cultivation level of the puppet, the smaller the enhancement. Lin Feng understood that there was a limit to the enhancement. After all, the ability of an excellent true treasure was limited to this level and would not change. The cultivation of a heavenly puppet was divided into the divine heart, the devil heart, and the human heart. Now that he had opened 5 acupoints, he had 2 abilities, namely the human heart's perception and the devil heart's savage blood. The Mohuyu enhanced the human heart's ability. If it improves the divine heart's ability, it will be useless to me. Lin Feng smiled. Whether it was improving the human heart or the devil heart, it could enhance his strength. Moreover, his perception ability had entered the 2nd stage after opening the 5th acupoint. If it was improved by the Mohuyu, I wonder how much it will improve? Lin Feng was very curious. Although he didn't have much hope for the Mohuyu, the result was undoubtedly good. Moreover, as an excellent true treasure, it only had one special ability. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. It was compatible with the Mohuyu, and its only ability, the Mohuyu, had a complete cultivation method. Lin Feng quickly began to cultivate. Compared to his current saber technique, cultivation at the soul level was too easy. Although the Mohuyu was quite complicated and there were many techniques to use the soul, Lin Feng's soul was extremely strong. Unparalleled in the origin continent. Even the Destiny race, who claimed to have the strongest soul, couldn't compare to it. Comprehension was naturally twice the result with half the effort. In less than 10 years, Lin Feng had mastered the powerful ability of an excellent true treasure, Mohuyu. Let's give it a try. Lin Feng floated in the endless void. With a thought, a bright light flashed in his eyes. Almost instantly, the power of the Mohuyu was poured into his cultivation. All 5 acupoints were opened in an instant, and his perception ability emerged like a large net. Strengthen to the limit. Originally, his perception ability was already very strong, but now it seemed to be flashing and boiling. With the strengthening of the Mohuyu, his ability crossed the boundary in an instant. Only then did it slowly calm down. Boom! Lin Feng's head buzzed. He opened his eyes in disbelief, his eyes shining brightly. After the strengthening of the Mohuyu, his perception ability had surpassed the 5th acupoint and broken through again. Ability Rebirth. Chapter 1871. His 6th sense was fully activated. His 5 senses were instantly enhanced, and the range of his perception greatly increased. His sensing ability was instantly strengthened, and his newly evolved perception had the ability to distinguish danger, which was quite special. But this was not everything. What really made Lin Feng ecstatic was another ability of his sixth sense: complete concealment. It directly extinguished all perception, including aura, energy, and vitality. Unless one had a special ability, even if one's soul was stronger than his, they would not be able to sense his existence. This ability was quite amazing. If he encountered an enemy who was much stronger than him and could only escape, then he might be able to avoid a disaster by using complete concealment. Of course, there were certain limitations to complete concealment, which was that he could not move. Once he moved, he would lose his concealment. I wonder if the Eye of Destiny in the Destiny realm can discover me after using complete concealment? Lin Feng was not sure. The Eye of Destiny in the sky above the Destiny realm was like a god observing the mortal world. As long as it was within the Destiny realm, nothing could escape its eyes. The only way to avoid it was through various secret realms. In any case, I have the ability to escape at the speed of light, and I have fully activated my sixth sense. In terms of life-saving ability, it is already first class. Lin Feng was quite satisfied with the improvement of his strength. First, his bloodline had transformed, and he had obtained the 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade. Then, he had obtained the superior treasure Maoyu. He had gained a lot from entering this space wreckage. The only thing lacking was that he still had a long way to go before he could master the first move of the 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade. It was more difficult than he had expected. Although he could cultivate here endlessly without any danger, and Lin Feng also believed that with his ability, he would be able to comprehend it sooner or later, his heart was tied to the Milky Way, and he could not stay for that long. 1,000 years at most. I have to leave. Lin Feng was clear about his mission and the responsibility on his shoulders. Staying for another 1,000 years was already his bottom line. At that time, whether or not he could master the first move of the 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade, he had to leave. Outside the secret realm, the heavenly fate race's experts were still eyeing the spatial secret realm like tigers watching their prey. They were still meticulous even after 1,000 years, but their expressions were already showing signs of weariness. Anyone who had waited here for 1,000 years would feel the same way. They weren't 9-star experts, so they weren't qualified to rest or cultivate here. All they could do was stand there and patrol the area. In the end, they had already grown numb to it. Hua, a bright light shone, and a surging aura spread out like a wave. His entire body was condensed with a strong light beam. Rings of light surrounded him. The 9-star warrior Wu Ergu's face was serious. His steel-like chin was slightly raised. His cold eyes scanned the surroundings. He paused for a while in the secret realm of space before his gaze landed on Wu Tsang. 1,000 years have passed, Wu Erai said. Let's go back. Wu Tsang nodded. Wu Ergu looked at Wu Tsang. How long are you going to wait? Wu Tsang said, soon. The turbulent void will open in about 1,000 years. I will go there then. All right. Wu Erai nodded. Without another word, he turned around and shouted, Let's go. Yes, my king. Half of them were Wu Erai's subordinates, so they naturally obeyed Wu Erai's orders and left with him. In an instant, the sound of air being torn apart was heard. After Wu Erai and the other experts left, the area outside the secret realm of space became much emptier. Wu Tsang sighed and shook his head helplessly. If Wu Erai wanted to leave, he naturally couldn't stop him. He could only let him do as he pleased. Everyone, including himself, knew that the human Lin Feng wouldn't come out in a short period of time. That human was rather cunning. To be able to survive until now in the Destiny boundary, he wasn't easy to deal with. He knew that the Destiny tribe experts were waiting for him, yet he still came out. Was he stupid? That human youth naturally wasn't stupid. On the contrary, we are more stupid. Wu Tsang smiled bitterly and shook his head. His gaze landed on the secret realm of space. He was also helpless. If it wasn't for the king's order, he would have left long ago. But now, he still had to be loyal to his duty. After the turbulent void opened, he would leave then. The king wouldn't have anything to say. I've heard that humans are cunning and scheming. I've finally seen it for myself. Wu Tsang sighed. 1,000 years after entering the secret realm of space, Wu Yirai left. But Wu Tsang was still guarding outside. At this time, Lin Feng was still pondering over the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade. The battle with Wu Xie had allowed him to have some understanding of the first move. It wasn't enough to rely on imagination. Blade techniques improved the fastest in battle. Not long after the battle, Lin Feng had a new understanding. In the 1100th year, the first move of the light attribute 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was finally completed. In the 1450th year, the dark attribute 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was also completed. Then, Lin Feng began to fuse the two types of blade technique. He began to solve the difficult problem that he had been unable to solve. He had to perfectly fuse the two types of energy that completely repulsed each other and reach the realm of Qi. Even if he didn't reach the realm of Qi, he would at least be able to unleash the blade intent that the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade should have. It didn't matter if the power was weakened. The most important thing was that he could use the comprehension of the blade techniques to break through the realm of the heavenly Tao that had been stagnant for a long time. That way, his strength would have a huge breakthrough. It was very difficult. In the 1600th year, Lin Feng only succeeded in the initial test. In the 1700th year, he could barely fuse them together. Moreover, it was because of the forceful interference of the black vortex. In the 1800th year, purring. Amidst Lin Feng's roar, the two terrifying blade forces intertwined. They collided from time to time and condensed from time to time. Space was sealed everywhere, forcefully restricting the two blade forces. Rumble. The sound of explosions rang out incessantly. It was extremely powerful. Just the sight of it made one's heart turn cold. Compared to the combined attack of the Silver Plateau blade technique and the Holy Land blade technique, it was more than 10 times stronger. After all, it was a powerful blade technique that had been passed down since ancient times. Even if he only comprehended a sliver of it, its power was incomparable to ordinary blade techniques. Furthermore, the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was extremely compatible with the light and darkness Tao. However, this wasn't the true intent. If I can truly comprehend the first move, Ashes to Qi, my blade technique realm should be able to break through the heavenly Tao and enter the realm of Qi. Lin Feng held two blades in his hands, his eyes sparkling. Right now, his blade technique realm was still at the peak of the heavenly Tao. This improved version of Ashes seemed to be extremely powerful and earth-shattering, but in fact, he had yet to reach the threshold. In the words of martial arts, it was just for show. But now, that was all he could do. It's already been 1,000 years. Lin Feng's eyes swept across his surroundings. 1,000 years ago, he had already made a decision. Regardless of whether he comprehended the 10,000 obscurity heavenly blade or not, he would leave in 1,000 years at the latest. After all, the comprehension of blade techniques was endless. Sometimes it required some luck and opportunity. It wasn't a solution to stay here forever. He could wait, but the Milky Way couldn't. It's time to go out. Lin Feng rushed out. Chapter 1872. Inside the Space Secret Realm. Space crystals could be seen scattered all over the place. The entire secret realm was like a huge natural cave. Rich space energy filled the air. Unlike the void outside, the space energy here was like water droplets in a lake. Although it seemed scattered, it was actually a whole. The key to the void gate had been taken away long ago. However, there were still more than 10 Destiny Tribe warriors wandering around in the secret realm. They spread their senses and covered the entire secret realm. This was their mission. Wu Tsang had arranged for the Destiny Tribe warriors to be divided into 3 teams. They would take turns to guard the secret realm. Each team was led by an 8-star warrior. As soon as Lin Feng appeared, they would immediately surround and kill him. They would not give him any chance. Wu Tsang knew very well that Lin Feng had escaped from the Wu Qianshan tribe in a hurry. He had an accurate estimate of Lin Feng's strength. In general, Lin Feng was between an ordinary 8-star warrior and an 8-star elite. Therefore, the 8-star warriors that Wu Tsang had sent were definitely the safest and most practical arrangement. Currently, the first team was in charge of patrolling. The captain, Wu Yuanming, was Wu Tsang's disciple. He was one of the best among the 8-star warriors. He was several times stronger than the chief of the Wu Qianshan tribe, Wu Xie. In fact, the 3 captains were all stronger than Wu Xie. They were the forces under Wu Tsang's command. As a king, he was not allowed to have a tribe because he was already very strong. If he had a tribe, it would cause all kinds of conflict. However, every 9-star warrior had an individual force under their command. Usually they were their disciples. Wu Yuanming was Wu Tsang's eldest disciple. Watch closely. Don't be lazy, Wu Yuanming shouted. He opened his huge eyes and sternly scolded his subordinates. He had always done things perfectly and meticulously. Therefore, Wu Tsang trusted him the most. Even though he had been patrolling here for 1,800 years, Wu Yuanming did not relax for a moment. Suddenly, chi. Not far away, the space seemed to crack. Space energy flowed, and the entire secret realm was slightly distorted. Wu Yuanming widened his eyes and held his breath. He opened his hands and 9 flying knives appeared, floating in the air. Each flying knife was wrapped in a white silk thread. They were transparent and visible to the naked eye. A black figure stepped out of the shattered space. He had golden horns on his head, and his expression was normal. The black dragon head on his chest armor was lifelike, and his human figure was clear at a glance. Lin Feng. Wu Yuanming's face instantly changed. His master, Wu Tsang, had already told him about the human Lin Feng's characteristics, strength, fighting methods, and so on. Not only him, but every Heavenly Fate clan ranker here knew about it, but now that they had suddenly seen him in person, they were still extremely shocked. She had waited for him for 1,800 years, and now, he had appeared in front of her without any warning. Die. After all, Wu Yuanming was an 8-star top-notch expert. His reaction speed was quite fast. The moment he saw Lin Feng, he launched an attack. The 9 flying daggers were already on standby. His attack was like 9 shooting stars. Invisible threads were attached to Wu Yuanming's hands, and his eye of destiny shone brightly. The 9 flying daggers were aimed at different directions of Lin Feng. They rotated rapidly, as if no matter where Lin Feng hid, the flying daggers would catch up with him. Wu Yuanming had absolute confidence in his attack. Elite treasure, 9 nether flying dagger formation. Wu Yuanming used his strongest attack to take Lin Feng's life. This was because Wu Tsang had already told him that no matter who saw Lin Feng, kill him without mercy. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. However, today's Lin Feng was no longer someone a mere 8-star top-notch expert could kill. A light flashed in Lin Feng's right hand, and a round light shield appeared in an instant. There was a blazing sun-like shape on top of it. Whoosh, the blazing light was dazzling, and rays of milky white light shrouded Lin Feng. A light circle suddenly appeared under Lin Feng's feet, spinning like a top. In an instant, the second, third, and fourth light circles appeared one by one. Bang! Pa! Clang! The round light shield in front of Lin Feng showed extraordinary defensive power, perfectly blocking Wu Yuanming's 9 nether flying daggers. Elite treasure, red sun flaming wheel. Among all of Lin Feng's elite defensive treasures, this wasn't the best. In terms of defense, it wasn't as good as the Black Dragon demonic armor or even the Taurus crown. However, when it was used with the third stage of the divine pattern of light, it was a completely different type of defense. A top-notch 8-star attack was perfectly blocked. The improvement of the divine pattern of light bloodline not only brought Lin Feng a transformation of the life level, but also made his combat power more comprehensive, and his attainments in the Tao of Light more profound. What? Wu Yuanming did not expect to be thwarted in one move. The 7-star servant hurriedly protected the surroundings to ensure his safety. He clearly knew Lin Feng's fighting style. His close combat power was quite terrifying, comparable to an 8-star top-notch expert. His only weakness was defense. However, the information seemed to be wrong. Whoosh! The moment Lin Feng blocked Wu Yuanming's attack, he immediately retreated, not wanting to continue the fight. Although he could not see what was going on, the power of Mosuyu had been integrated into his body, and his sixth sense was fully activated. He did not need to check to feel that there was a terrifying power outside the space secret realm. Although his strength had improved greatly, compared to a 9-star expert, he was still much weaker. 8-star and 9-star were not on the same level. Moreover, the strength of an 8-star servant was already quite terrifying for a 9-star destiny race expert. Entrance! Lin Feng's eyes turned cold. He took advantage of the moment when Wu Yuanming was protecting himself to escape the battle. Wu Yuanming, who was stupefied, watched Lin Feng escape without a fight. He was somewhat stunned. Catch him! But soon Wu Yuanming reacted. His aura instantly exploded, and the entire space secret realm shook. The violent fluctuations directly alerted Wu Tsang outside the secret realm. Wu Yuanming used the most direct method to inform all the Destiny Race experts. The big fish had appeared. 1. Lin Feng's sixth sense was extremely clear, and he vaguely sensed that danger was approaching. The speed and range of his senses were also very wide, and he quickly found the entrance. However, no matter how fast he was not faster than that mysterious and powerful existence. Moreover, there were other obstacles in the space secret realm. Boom! Boom! Lin Feng held the Eclipse Mystic Civ Saber and the Perak Demon Saber in his hands, killing the Destiny Race experts who were blocking his way. They had the strength of an ordinary 8-star expert, but they couldn't resist even one move. They widened their eyes in shock, and their unwilling cries echoed in the secret realm. Lin Feng stepped on the profound light shuttle, and his speed had reached the limit. The entrance was right in front of him. But at this moment, a golden light flashed in front of him, and a Destiny Race expert with his hands behind his back appeared at the entrance. He stood on a golden treasure and looked over with his crystal eyes. His surging aura enveloped the entire area. It was Wu Tsang, a 9-star Destiny Race expert. Chapter 1873. With glistening eyes, Wu Tsang placed his hands behind his back and stepped on a golden treasure with horns all over. He guarded the entrance. A faint aura spread out, and ripples seemed to form in the void, forming a layer of natural grid. He didn't say anything and just looked at Lin Feng quietly, curiously sizing up this human who had turned the Destiny Race upside down. There wasn't a single 8-star servant around Wu Tsang. It was obvious that he was bold. Indeed, with his 9-star strength, if he needed a servant to deal with an 8-star human, wouldn't people laugh their heads off? He, Wu Tsang, was a transcendent being ranked 65th on the Origin Awakening list. The true experts of the Origin Awakening continent all knew that the Origin Awakening list was a boundary. Standing on this boundary were the experts at the top of the pyramid, looking down on all the experts of the Origin Awakening continent. Those below the boundary weren't worth mentioning. Lin Feng also stopped. Just as his sixth sense had sensed and guessed in the void of the secret realm, the Destiny Race experts would definitely use a nuclear weapon to deal with him. This nuclear weapon was a 9-star expert. He had to leave this place, or rather leave the Destiny realm. It was inevitable to face a 9-star expert. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Behind Lin Feng, the first team led by Wu Yuanming rushed over and quickly spread out, surrounding Lin Feng. Their eyes were filled with vigilance and caution, especially Wu Yuanming. He had just suffered a loss and was very afraid of Lin Feng. Back down. Wu Tsang waved his hand. His expression was calm and his hand movement was very gentle, but it had a majesty that couldn't be disobeyed. Wu Yuanming understood his master's temper. He bowed and nodded, then led the first team to the back. With his master's strength, why would he need their help? You're the human Lin Feng? Wu Tsang said softly and smiled. I've been waiting for you for 1,800 years. Sorry for the trouble. Lin Feng smiled back. Wu Tsang's eyes flickered. He clicked his tongue and said, I didn't expect that the human who turned the destiny realm upside down would be so young. I'm curious, how did you resist the soul attack of death? Guess, Lin Feng said. Wu Tsang smiled. I can't guess, but it doesn't matter, I'll know soon anyway. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He knew what this 9-star expert meant. As long as he killed him, all his secrets would be revealed. I know that I won't be able to escape this calamity after meeting Senior today. Lin Feng slowly opened his mouth, his expression exuberant. As a martial artist, one should be fearless in battle. I don't know if Senior is willing to accept, but if you and I have a one-on-one duel, there will be no regrets. Wu Tsang smiled and said, We, the Destiny race, will not bully others. To deal with you, I don't even need to summon my servants. Thank you, Senior. Lin Feng had hoped that this would be the case. If it was a one-on-one duel, his chances would be higher. However, he hadn't expected this Destiny race 9-star expert to be so arrogant. He didn't even bother to summon a servant. The space here is too small. Why don't we move outside and fight? Lin Feng said. Wu Tsang smiled and shook his head. You humans are too cunning. If I let you run outside, it would be like letting a fish into the sea. If you want to escape, I won't be able to catch up with you if you reach the speed of light. Lin Feng did have such a plan. It was spacious outside, and he could attack or retreat. He might be able to find a chance to escape. With his speed of light, as long as he could escape, even a 9-star expert might not be able to catch up with him. Senior, are you afraid? Lin Feng smiled and asked. What are you talking about? My master is not afraid. Don't try to provoke me, despicable human. Before Wu Tsang could answer, the angry rebukes of Wu Yuanming and the other Destiny race experts came from behind him, echoing. Lin Feng smiled calmly and looked askance. It was obvious that he was trying to provoke him. With the arrogance of this 9-star Destiny race expert, he might just accept it. After all, he didn't even summon an 8-star slave. Let's go. I'll let you die willingly. Wu Tsang's eyes flashed. He didn't waste any more words. He turned around, and the golden treasure under his feet flew toward the exit and disappeared. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He knew clearly that this 9-star Destiny race expert was confident in dealing with him or controlling him. That was why he didn't care about his request. This battle wouldn't be easy to fight. It seems like the original plan needs to be changed. Lin Feng stepped forward and walked toward the exit. The 9-star Destiny race expert wasn't stupid. He obviously knew that he had the Pearl of Wisdom, which was why he allowed Lin Feng to do what he wanted. If Lin Feng continued with the original plan and just tried to escape, he might not even have a chance to survive. If he wanted to survive and leave this place, there was only one way. Defeat him. Lin Feng stepped out of the exit. The surrounding spatial energy became much weaker, replaced by dense light element. It circled around him like elemental fairies, making his light divine pattern even more excited. There was naturally hope. After all, his attack had reached the 9-star level. His soul defense was almost immune. His only weakness was his physical defense. However, the 9-star Destiny race expert was proficient in the Tao of Soul, so his physical defense wasn't strong. Moreover, he was extremely confident in his own strength. He didn't need help or slaves. One-on-one battle. He underestimated me. He's probably using my strength before I entered the spatial remnant and caused havoc in the Wu Qianxian tribe. It wasn't hard for Lin Feng to guess that the 9-star Destiny Race expert knew that he had the speed of light from the Wu Qianxian tribe. At that time, he didn't even have the strength to defeat an 8-star Destiny Race expert. However, things were different now. They didn't know that the chief of the Wu Qianxian tribe, the 8-star Destiny Race expert Wu Xie, had been killed by Lin Feng in the space secret realm. If they knew, they wouldn't be so arrogant. Lin Feng wouldn't say anything. The more his opponent looked down on him, the more he didn't care about him. The Destiny world was filled with rich light energy. In the void, an eye of destiny was watching every corner of the Destiny world like a god. It was sparkling and shining. At this moment, it landed on one of the mountains. Over there, the 9-star great being Wu Tsang was standing on an excellent true treasure, the derived gold spirit, and holding an excellent true treasure, the Black Thunder puppet staff. He was wearing a pale robe, which looked ordinary but was actually an elite true treasure. Even the boots on his feet and the hexagonal necklace on his neck were elite true treasures. Armed to the teeth, the wealth of the Destiny Race was one of the best in the Origin Awakened continent. Even the ordinary members of the Destiny Race had supreme treasures, let alone the strongest 9-star elite of the race. Each of them had 2 outstanding supreme treasures. As for elite true treasures, as long as they wanted, it didn't matter if they had 10 superior true treasures or 100 superior true treasures. In this aspect, the 9-star Destiny Race wasn't restricted. Today, an 8-star human was standing in front of Wu Tsang. Lin Feng. Chapter 1874. He's overestimating himself. He dares to duel with Master with such strength? What a joke. I haven't seen Master fight in a long time. I wonder how much his strength has increased? Master was ranked 65th in the previous Origin Awakening list. He should be around 60th now, right? No matter what, it's more than enough to deal with this little human. Watch carefully and learn. This is a rare opportunity. Not only the first team led by Wu Yuanming, the second and third teams, but also all the Destiny Tribe warriors under Wu Tsang were gathered around, whispering to each other as they watched this once-in-a-lifetime duel. Although there was a huge difference in strength between the two sides, they were very happy to watch such a duel. They watched a human genius struggle to survive under the suppression of the Destiny Tribe warriors. He racked his brains but was still defeated, frustrated, and anxious. In the end, he was destroyed. This feeling was very good. They didn't need to cheer for Master because there was no need to. The battle would be like finding pearls in a haystack. It ended in the blink of an eye. It's starting. With Wu Yuanming's low shout, all the Destiny Tribe warriors focused their gazes. In an instant, there was a sharp sound of something breaking through the air. It was a bloody skull wrapped in a bloody color. It was like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey with a majestic aura. Skeleton, barbarian blood. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't give Wu Tsang the chance to attack first. As soon as he landed, he attacked. Although the skeleton's speed wasn't as fast as the profound light shuttle, with the help of barbarian blood, its attack power reached the peak of 8-star. With the Destiny Tribe's defense, it wasn't easy to block it. However, this time, Lin Feng's opponent wasn't an 8-star warrior, but a true king of the Destiny Tribe, one of the 6 kings, Wu Tsang. Whoosh! With a wave of his hand, the surrounding area changed. The space distorted, and Wu Tsang's eyes became clear. The space domain of an elite treasure was extremely terrifying. It broke the skeleton in one move. Trapped in the endless space forever, it was as if he was lost. The strength of a 9-star warrior was invincible. In a split second there was an explosion and a giant bell shape appeared in the void. The golden bell appeared and Lin Feng's speed was extremely fast. In the instant that the skeleton attacked, he had already closed in. The deafening Sanskrit chants attacked Wu Tsang's side with all his might concentrated. Hiss streams of tyrannical soul power were released, causing the Sanskrit sound to become heavy and terrifying. Compared to the golden fan bell's explosive attack last time, this attack was even more powerful. The spatial domain shook violently and showed signs of cracking. Lin Feng's face was slightly pale. The eclipse mystic knife and the divine pattern of light in his hand shone with extreme light. Golden fan bell. Wu Tsang's face turned solemn. He knew the power of the golden fan bell. It was one of the best among the elite true treasures and was close to an excellent true treasure. Even though his willpower and determination were strong enough, his head was still buzzing in the face of the Sanskrit sound of the golden fan bell. This brat, is he trying to destroy everything? Wu Tsang naturally did not know how strong Lin Feng's soul was. He thought that the Jin Fanzhong's attack was a move that Lin Feng had exhausted all of his strength and soul power. Unfortunately, it's useless against me. Wu Tsang sneered and opened his arms. In an instant, the eye of heavenly mandate opened ferociously, and a similarly terrifying power erupted from the eye of heavenly mandate. It clashed directly with the golden fan bell. The two invisible yet powerful forces collided in the void, neither giving way to the other. Go! Wu Tsang activated the horn to counterattack. He naturally would not be suppressed by Lin Feng all the time. Even if he could defend himself, he would be embarrassed in front of all his disciples. One should know that he was a 9-star great expert. Wu Tsang's power exploded instantly, and he raised the scepter that was flashing with lightning. Suddenly, there was a thunderous roar. Sizzle, 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 excellent true treasure, sizzle, sizzle. Not only could Wu Tsang's best weapon attack, but it could also summon lightning servants. Its fighting style was varied and powerful, and it could attack and defend at the same time. In an instant, the lightning puppets gathered lightning and threw lightning fists at Lin Feng. Break! Lin Feng's soul power suddenly increased, and his eyes were bloodshot. The extreme soul power activated the golden fan bell crazily, and there was an earth-shattering sound in the void. The entire space seemed to be torn apart in an instant. Rumble! It was so powerful that even the eye of heaven's mandate in the void seemed to tremble. The true activation of soul power exploded. The elite true treasure, golden fan bell, was already at the peak of the elite level. Now, it had reached the level of an excellent true treasure. Not only did it shatter Wu Tsang's space territory, but it also shattered the lightning puppet. Even Wu Tsang's disciples, who were far away, looked distressed, and they quickly defended themselves. The power was too terrifying. What? Wu Tsang's expression finally changed. He did not expect the golden fan bell to be able to unleash such terrifying power. However, he was a 9-star great expert after all, and his attack would not be interrupted by an 8-star great expert. Puff, puff. Even though Lin Feng's golden fan bell was already very powerful, Wu Tsang's sizzle still pierced through it. Bolts of lightning struck Lin Feng's body, breaking the defense of the black dragon demon armor. Wu Tsang's lips curled into a cold smile. However, suddenly Wu Tsang's expression changed. Behind him, a huge golden skull appeared out of nowhere. It opened its bloody mouth, as though it was going to swallow him whole. Wu Tsang's eye of destiny stared furiously, and a strong force shook his pale robe, forming a layer of transparent light shield. Bang! The thunderous impact was like a comet hitting the earth. The transparent light shield was instantly shattered, and the unstoppable impact caused Wu Tsang to stagger and retreat. His eyes were wide open in anger. Only then did he understand that he had been tricked by this human youth from the beginning. Although the golden skeleton was lost in his space domain, The human Lin Feng had never lost control of it from the beginning to the end. Even in the most intense of battles, he would divert his attention to control it, including when it was heavily injured by his Black Thunder puppet staff. This attack was buried extremely deep. It was like a ticking time bomb that exploded in an instant. This human does have some skills. Although Wu Tsang was pushed back, he was not injured. He dared to fight with Lin Feng without summoning an 8-star slave because he was confident and capable. A mere 8-star top attack, if not for the element of surprise, wouldn't have been able to push him back at all. In his opinion, it was just a small trick. Impossible. Wu Tsang's expression changed, and his eyes widened in shock. Wasn't this human Lin Feng severely injured by him? Chapter 1875. The Dark Elemental Ultimate Treasure, Black Dragon Demon Armor, shattered. The Light Elemental Ultimate Treasure, Red Sun Flaming Wheel, shattered. Lin Feng was covered in blood, and his injuries weren't light. The Light and Dark Divine patterns were pushed to their limits. With 2 layers of defense and the price of physical injuries, he barely managed to block a real 9-star level attack. And this was already his limit. If he took another hit, he would definitely die. He wouldn't give Wu Tsang a chance. With the help of the skeleton and berserker blood, Lin Feng took back the initiative. In an instant, he was like the god of death. The Eclipse Mystic Saber and Perak Demon Saber in his hands resonated with each other, and their power increased tremendously. Thousand Obscuring Heavenly Blade. The power of the Heavenly Dao Marrow was at 100%, and the Black Vortex spun at an extreme speed. It absorbed enough spatial energy from the spatial mystic realm, causing the Black Vortex's power to surge to the pinnacle of its first stage. Its powerful control ability allowed it to perfectly control the great Tao of light and darkness. This move had exhausted all of Lin Feng's strength that he had painstakingly cultivated for 1,800 years. However, it was only for one move. After all, the Black Whirlpool was only at the 3rd stage. The space energy here was far from the space secret realm. However, one move was enough. If he couldn't defeat Wu Tsang with one move, 2 more moves would be useless. The element of light and the element of darkness were like 2 intertwined giant dragons. Under the control of the high-grade true meaning of space, spatial seal, they blasted towards the enraged Wu Tsang. The strongest attack. Boom! Even though this was only less than 10% of the power of the first move of the 10,000 Obscuring Heavenly Saber, Ashes of Ashes, as a saber move from an ancient legacy, its power was definitely not to be trifled with. Although Lin Feng's saber move was incongruous, it was still considered a fusion. 9-star power. Ah! As Wu Tsang roared, his white pupils opened up. At that moment, the derived gold specter beneath his feet split apart and rotated at its limit. It shattered and reassembled, turning into a ferocious golden shield that blocked in front of him. What? This time, it was Lin Feng who was shocked. He did not expect Wu Tsang to have a trump card. With the defense of the Yen Gold Demon and the Black Thunder Puppet's 10,000 Lightning, although Wu Tsang was pushed back with a groan, he was only slightly injured and did not lose much of his power. However, at this moment, Wu Tsang's face became extremely twisted. Who is he? A super expert ranked 65th on the Origin Awakening list. Now, in a one-on-one situation, he was actually injured by a human youth who was still wet behind the ears. Moreover, it was in front of so many disciples. If news of this were to spread out, what face would he have left? Ah! Ah! Wu Tsang roared hysterically like an injured primordial ferocious beast. The terrifying force exploded and spread out, causing the entire area to shake violently. He was truly furious. Human Lin Feng. Wu Tsang gritted his teeth. With a hint of blood, his killing intent could not be stopped, as if it was going to devour the world. The Black Thunder puppet staff in his hand emitted tens of thousands of lightning bolts. After the derived gold specter dispersed, it overlapped and combined again like a lock. His aura was extremely powerful. It was the end of the road. Lin Feng no longer had the strength to strike. To be precise, he had used up 100% of his strength just now. If he attacked again, it would not be able to exceed the previous attack. On the contrary, because of the lack of energy in the black vortex space, it would be weakened by a lot. Facing a 9-star super expert that he had never encountered before, the difference in strength was obvious. The opponent was really strong. However, Lin Feng did not give up. Even if it was an egg hitting a rock, he would not care. As a martial artist, even if he had to die, he would die standing. Lin Feng did not think of escaping. Facing Wu Tsang, he could not escape at all. That golden lock-like treasure would attack and kill him the moment he tried to escape. As an expert who was also good at controlling objects, Lin Feng knew this very well. Moreover, the opponent might have more than one trump card. The Destiny race had an extraordinary number of treasures. His body was extremely ethereal. Lin Feng stood with 2 swords in his hands. Looking up at the tall mountain in front of him, his state of mind became ethereal and calm. He entered an indescribable state, as if he had returned to the time when his bloodline transformed, when the black-haired giant stood tall in the sky and fought against countless celestial soldiers and generals by himself. He knew that he was no match for him, but he was fearless. This was a true expert. Battles were baptized with blood. Strength grew through the baptism of blood time and time again. Endless pressure. At the moment of death, the pressure of the power was like a hammer constantly pounding on Lin Feng's soul, pounding on his heart. With every moment it was like dripping water. In the ethereal state, the blurry mist in Lin Feng's mind seemed to become thinner and thinner. When he stretched out his hand, it was as if he could touch the critical line. He grabbed it. Rip! Lin Feng could clearly feel that at that moment it was torn apart. This was the shackle that had trapped him for 1,800 years. He took this step and jumped out of the cage. In front of him was a bright and endless path to the heavens. All his swordsmanship and realm were left in the cage at that moment. Or rather, it was in his hands. Clang! Lin Feng held 2 swords in his hands. His aura suddenly changed, and he felt completely different. The same 2 swords and the same swordsmanship, but in Lin Feng's hands, they became completely different. His heart changed, and his realm increased. In the ethereal state, Lin Feng took an important step. Saber's End Mastery. Whoosh! The second layer of secret inscriptions on the Eclipse Mystic Saber activated and wantonly absorbed endless light energy. Chi. The demonic Perak saber was like a demon that devoured Lin Feng's blood. Streaks of blood-red light appeared on the saber. It was like the demonic inscriptions on the surface of the demon's body resonating with the demonic inscriptions on Lin Feng's body. The 2 opposing forces continued to increase. They had far exceeded the power of the Black Whirlpool and were beyond control. It was like 2 children who had finally left their mother's embrace and walked on their own path. In that instant, Lin Feng understood. All his confusion, darkness, and problems were solved. Light divine inscriptions and dark demonic inscriptions gathered all over his body. They intertwined with each other like 2 brothers fighting. Neither was willing to admit defeat and became stronger in the competition. At that moment, 10,000 thunder annihilation. Wu Tsang roared. Even his eye of destiny was distorted. He waved his hands to the limit. The outstanding black thunder puppet staff emitted tens of thousands of thunder and lightning, which turned into a lightning net. The lightning and thunder were more than 10 times denser than before. Being injured by Lin Feng caused Wu Tsang to be extremely furious, and he had already used his strongest attack. His anger had to be washed away with blood. Go to hell. Wu Tsang used one of his ultimate moves. The outstanding black thunder puppet staff also exploded with 100% of its power. The thunder and lightning that covered the sky and earth didn't give Lin Feng any chance to dodge. Even if he tried his best to defend, there would only be one outcome. He would be killed by the endless thunder and lightning. Wu Tsang used the method he was best at, the method of using the strong to subdue the weak, to attack Lin Feng with brute force. In the face of death, Lin Feng moved. Chapter 1876. Lin Feng wasn't afraid. He never retreated in battle. An expert wouldn't be afraid of death. His first thought when he stepped into battle was to win. Win this battle, even if the opponent was much stronger than him. Swoosh! Lin Feng shot out like a sharp arrow. The close-range explosion was almost at the same instant as Wu Tsang's attack. At present, his black dragon demonic armor was almost completely shattered, and the Scarlet Sun flaming wheel was even more useless. It could be said that his defense was almost empty. Lin Feng couldn't even block a normal attack, let alone Wu Tsang's strongest attack. So, he could only attack. He turned all his power into an attack. Even if he died, he had to injure Wu Tsang severely or even drag him down. Lin Feng was decisive in the battle. In the ethereal state, his fighting spirit and killing intent were at the peak. This was a battle with no way out. Only the brave would win. Compared to Wu Tsang, Lin Feng's fighting spirit was stronger. His desire to win was stronger. The demon Perak blade absorbed a large amount of blood, causing Lin Feng to be extremely weak. However, the demonic patterns on his body were extremely bright. They were almost comparable to the third stage of the divine light pattern. Extreme amplification. Although the demon Perak blade had a lot of side effects, its effect was undeniable. When it was fully activated, it was comparable to an outstanding true treasure. It was much stronger than the Eclipse Secret Luo blade that had only activated the second stage. But now it was just right. The stronger demon Perak blade was supplemented by the second stage of the dark demonic pattern. The Eclipse Secret Luo blade that had activated the second stage of the divine light pattern had been activated. The two powers resonated and connected. The black whirlpool seemed to exist in every corner, but it also didn't seem to exist. It was like a mother watching her two children grow up. It no longer interfered with everything. It no longer controlled everything. The black whirlpool now seemed to have retreated to the second line. But only with such a fusion could he truly unleash the power of the light and dark paths. Chi. Chi. Like two dragons circling each other, the saber techniques merged almost instantly. It didn't take as much effort as the first time. Everything seemed to flow naturally. As the power was released, it twisted into a ball. Saber mastery. The perfection of the realm allowed the first move of the thousand obscuring heavenly blade, Ashes, to be mastered perfectly. Originally, this was the saber technique of the all-seeing realm. Originally, Lin Feng had already grasped the ultimate mastery. The only thing he lacked was the true realm of using the saber technique. Just like the profound light shuttle under Lin Feng's feet, he could fly without it, and his speed was also very fast. But with the profound light shuttle, he could truly reach the limit of speed, reaching the speed of light. Boom! Lin Feng struck out with his saber. He was resolute and fearless, completely unconcerned about the lightning strike that was about to cover his entire body. Since they had decided to attack, there was no way out. Either you die or I die. The surroundings were silent. All of the Destiny Race's experts were stunned. At that moment, time seemed to have stopped. Only Lin Feng and Wu Tsang were left fighting in that short moment. However, the one who was truly shocked the most was Wu Tsang. He didn't expect Lin Feng to have the strength to fight again, and he didn't expect Lin Feng's saber skills to be so strong. How can light and darkness fuse? Wu Tsang's heart was like a monstrous wave. He was extremely shocked. He was considered experienced and had seen the fusion of countless elements, but he had never seen light and darkness fuse together. These were two forces that completely repelled each other. Moreover, the fusion was so tight that the two saber techniques merged into one without any flaws. It was almost perfect. The terrifying power shattered the space, and the surrounding elements collapsed and dispersed. It had reached an unbelievable level. Now Wu Tsang had two choices in front of him. No matter what, he would continue to attack and kill Lin Feng with the Thousand Thunder Annihilation. Wu Tsang was 100% confident that he could kill him, but if he didn't defend, he might be seriously injured or even killed by Lin Feng's move. This move was too terrifying. The second choice was to defend. He tightened his defense and blocked this move first. He had the absolute advantage now. Was there a need to risk his life against Lin Feng? Moreover, he was a noble Destiny race member. Why would he risk his life with a mere human? It wasn't even worth getting injured. Humph! Wu Tsang gritted his teeth and made his choice instantly. He would not take such a big risk to play a game of life and death with Lin Feng. He put away the outstanding Black Thunder puppet staff, and the thunder and lightning that covered the sky and earth turned into a giant net in front of him. The derived golden evil under his feet split up again, forming an armor and a shield. Wu Tsang had absolute confidence in both attack and defense. However, he miscalculated this time. Whoosh! Like a drill drilling into the wall, the might of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was revealed for the first time. The blade of Ash's annihilation condensed a terrifying might. The energy of light and darkness seemed to be continuously compressed into a point, turning into a spiral that spun rapidly until it came into contact with the huge lightning net. Boom! 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 Lin Feng couldn't control the power of light and thunder anymore. It was far beyond his strength. The moment the attack touched, it exploded, and the sky and earth shook violently. At that moment, even the space seemed to be shattered. Although Lin Feng couldn't use the thousand obscuring heavenly blade like the black-haired giant, it was enough. Whoosh! Whoosh! The huge lightning net was blasted apart, and the lightning bolts were like electric snakes slithering in all directions. Lin Feng, who was closest to the net, was naturally not in a good state. Just the impact alone was enough to make him suffer, not to mention that there were many shattered lightning bolts that penetrated his body. Injuries on top of injuries. Blood spurted out, and Lin Feng's injuries worsened. However, this aroused his ferocity and fighting spirit. His eyes were red and he was crazy. This was a battle of life and death. Lin Feng had already given up everything to win. Boom! Wu Tsang's evil gold was also blown apart. He widened his eyes in shock. His eye of destiny was extremely ferocious, but his eyes were filled with disbelief. He didn't expect Lin Feng's attack to be so strong. He tried his best to defend, but he still couldn't block it. Ah! Wu Tsang's face was pale and he was in great pain. He was seriously injured in one move. At that moment, the hexagonal necklace on his neck released a strong light, protecting Wu Tsang's last defense. Bang! Bang! Lin Feng and Wu Tsang were like two kites with a broken string, falling back. Lightning surrounded his body, and his hands were almost numb. The backlash from the impact, plus the demon Perak blade absorbing a large amount of blood, and the golden fanbell consuming a lot of soul energy. Lin Feng's injuries were not much better than Wu Tsang's. In the end, he was holding on with his willpower. Lin Feng's entire body was bathed in blood. The black dragon demonic armor had used up its last bit of strength and was completely shattered. The golden bull crown was so shattered that even its horns were broken. Lin Feng's injuries were too horrible to look at. However, he won. Even if it was a painful victory, it was still a victory. Chapter 1877. Wu Tsang was severely injured, and he was only relying on his last life-saving treasure to stay alive. The moment he was sent flying, the 8-star slaves appeared around him, and they instantly formed an airtight defense. Wu Tsang's eyes were filled with hatred and resentment. Summoning the 8-star slaves was equivalent to slapping himself in the face. However, there was no other way. Wu Tsang knew that he had no more strength to fight. Losing face was better than losing his life. Boom! He landed heavily. His head was buzzing. Wu Tsang vomited blood and fainted. The The surroundings were so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. All the Destiny Tribe experts were stunned and petrified. Both sides were injured? No, their master, the 9-star Destiny Tribe expert, Wu Tsang, had lost. He had lost miserably. He was seriously injured and unconscious. He even slapped himself in the face and summoned the 8-star slaves. On the other hand, although the human was covered in blood, he stood in the sky like a demon god. The 2 sabers, one bright and one dark, were filled with boundless power. It was chilling. He was like the Grim Reaper looking down at them. With his strength, he could seriously injure their master, Wu Tsang. To kill them, it was as easy as flipping his hand. Save our master! Wu Yuanming, the leader of the first team, was the first to react. In an instant, Wu Tsang's disciples rushed to save Wu Tsang. A few 8-star experts stood opposite Lin Feng. They did not dare to make a move. Beads of sweat appeared on their foreheads. The human in front of them was too terrifying. He had killed hundreds of Destiny Tribe experts and slaughtered countless tribes. Now, even their master, the 9-star expert Wu Tsang, had been defeated. What strength! Let's go! Let's go! Wu Yuanming and his disciples rushed to save Wu Tsang. They did not dare to look at Lin Feng and quickly ran away. They wished they had 2 more legs. In an instant, the entire area was empty. A gust of wind blew and Lin Feng's body trembled slightly. He was already at the end of his rope. He did not even have the strength to run away just now. Finally, I won. Lin Feng looked at Wu Tsang and his disciples leaving. He did not have the strength to chase after them. He could not even kill an 8-star slave, let alone his disciples. Although he had won the battle, the price he had paid was not small. However, the rewards were even greater. Saber's all mastery. So this is the true power of the 10,000 heavenly blade. So strong. Lin Feng sighed in his heart. At this moment, he had already mastered the technique. However, until now, he still hadn't been able to unleash 100% of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade's true power. He hadn't truly achieved a perfect fusion, the blade technique was still split into 2, and he still hadn't grasped the technique of the slash, etc. However, he was already very strong. You still underestimated me. If he had fought steadily from the start, I wouldn't have had a chance. What a pity! Lin Feng moved his numb body, gasped for breath, and gripped his saber. That 9-star Destiny Race warrior was too prideful. He wanted to kill Yi Futian in 1 or 2 moves. That was why Yi Futian had the chance to counterattack. Even in the end, he still had a chance to win. Unfortunately, he gave up. Lin Feng took out a fruit of heaven and earth and put it in his mouth. He didn't even have the strength to chew it. He swallowed it directly. Vigorous energy spread out, healing his wounded body. With his physical defense, he definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand the terrifying thunder slash. If he had been willing to risk his life, he would have had a 100% chance of winning. However, he was afraid of being severely injured and possibly endangering his life. There was an old saying, the more one feared something, the more likely it would be to happen. His disciple was even more frightened by the previous battle. He didn't even have the courage to attack Yi Futian and hurriedly ran away. If they want to avenge Master and surround me, I'm afraid I'll be in trouble. The Destiny Race is indeed bullying the weak and fearing the strong. After absorbing the fruit of heaven and earth, Lin Feng recovered some strength. Although his body was still weak, he couldn't afford to slack off. The soaring light shuttle instantly appeared below him. Swish! Lin Feng turned into a beam of light and shot out quickly. In a quiet valley in the Destiny realm, safe. Fortunately, he didn't chase after me. We finally rescued Master. Just now it was really terrifying. Yes, that human youth is simply a monster. Even Master was defeated by him. It's unbelievable. The experts of the Destiny race spoke one after another with lingering fear in their hearts. What had happened just now was like a nightmare. Their respected master, one of the 6 kings of the Destiny race and the 65th super expert of the Origin Awakened continent, had been utterly defeated. He had lost to an unknown human youth. No one would believe it if they told others. His attack was really terrifying. Yes, Master blocked 2 moves in a row, but he couldn't block the second one. Fortunately, Master has a life-saving trump card. That's why we were able to rescue Master. Otherwise, sigh, this is really too sudden. The experts of the Destiny race sighed one after another. It was as unbelievable as a shocking dream. They still couldn't believe what had happened in front of them. Right at this moment, swish! Wu Tsang, who was originally in a state of unconsciousness, suddenly opened his eyes. His 9 forked white eyes suddenly lit up, and he sat up with shock and lingering fear in his heart. He practically swept the surroundings out of reflex. Master! Master, you're awake! Great, Master has woken up! The experts of the Destiny race were wild with joy and quickly surrounded him. Where is he? Wu Tsang's face was tense as he looked around. At this moment, his mind was much clearer. There were no traces of battle around, and it wasn't outside the secret realm. Human? Wu Yuanming and the other disciples reacted and hurriedly said, Master, after you fainted, we immediately rescued you. That human might be afraid of us, so he didn't chase after us. You. Wu Tsang raised his trembling hand and pointed at the group of disciples. He was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. How stupid are you? He's not afraid of you. He's seriously injured and doesn't have the strength to fight anymore. Why did you save me? Do I, Wu Tsang, need you to save me? Bastard! Wu Tsang was so angry that his face turned purple. He flew into a rage and was unable to restrain his anger. It wasn't easy to severely injure that damn human. As long as we surrounded him, we could have captured him directly. You bunch of idiots, you actually let him go. Puff. It was blood red. The more Wu Tsang thought about it, the angrier he became. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted again. The surrounding disciples were dumbfounded. They were completely dumbfounded. They were actually scared away by a severely injured human who couldn't even truss a chicken? Chase. Let's chase after him. Wu Yuanming quickly reacted and shouted. In an instant, the experts of the Destiny race hurriedly rushed over and chased after the place where the battle had taken place. However, it was already empty. Chapter 1878. Whoosh! Lin Feng was like an aurora as he sped through the Destiny world. He wouldn't just sit there and wait for his death. His luck wouldn't last forever, and he had to leave this place as soon as possible. Who knew when a second 9-star warrior would appear? At that time, he wouldn't be merciful to him anymore. Stepping on the profound light shuttle, Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the layers of mist in the sky. There seemed to be an eye of destiny watching him from above. Lin Feng smiled weakly, patted his chest, and gave a thumbs up. He knew that he could see him. So what? As long as he left the Destiny world, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. I have to leave as soon as possible. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and his face turned pale. Even though he had absorbed a few fruits of heaven and earth and recovered some of his primordial qi, he had still been seriously injured in the battle with Wu Tsang. Even if he wanted to recover 20 to 30% of his power, he would need some time. However, he didn't need to fight right now. He just needed to maintain the profound light shuttle's speed and leave the Destiny world as soon as possible. As for the rest, he would think about it later. Destiny race, destiny-defying palace. A giant purple-red eye of destiny landed in the center of the palace. As the space rippled, the eye of destiny slowly opened, and a destiny race warrior wearing a monk's robe walked out. Venerable, the 9-star destiny race warriors said respectfully, "Greetings, Venerable." The Venerable swept his gaze over the 9-star Destiny Race warriors and sighed. The king is angry. What? The 9-star Destiny Race warriors all opened their eyes wide. Venerable, please speak clearly. The leading Wu Long's voice was vigorous, and there was a ferocious giant dragon on his face. The Venerable put his palms together, and his expression was grave. Wu Tsang was severely injured and defeated, and the human Lin Feng escaped. The 9-star Destiny Race warriors looked at each other, and they were all shocked. They couldn't believe it, but they knew that the Venerable wouldn't lie. He had been sent by the Destiny Race to assist the new king, and he could be said to be the king's messenger. What he said was the same as what the king said. Ergue, what happened? Wu Long frowned and looked at Wu Ergue. I'm not sure either. Wu Ergu's face was cold and his eyes flashed with a ferocious light. He obviously had to bear a lot of responsibility for this matter, because he and Wu Tsang were originally responsible for the mission of capturing Lin Feng. But he came back not long ago. This was because he felt that it was impossible for that human to come out of the secret realm in such a short time. Furthermore, with Wu Tsang guarding, even if that human came out, he would not be able to escape from Wu Tsang's palm. Who would have thought that the result would be like this? Wu Tsang lost. Wu Ergu's face was cold and his heart was raging. There's not much time left. The human Lin Feng is traveling at the speed of light, preparing to leave the Destiny Realm. You take care of yourselves. Venerable Buddha Beads glanced at the 9-star cultivators with a calm expression. He put his palms together and returned to the purple-red eye of destiny. Creak, the purple-red eye of destiny closed. However, the 5 9-star Destiny Race experts were left with an incomparably shocking and difficult problem. Wu Tsang was defeated. The human Lin Feng was about to escape. You don't have to worry about this. Wu Ergu stood up straight with a murderous look in his eyes. He was like an unsheathed lightsaber. This happened because of me. I will give you an explanation. Take his head. Wu Ergu's expression was cold. He did not say much and turned around to leave. Be careful, Wu Long reminded. Yes, don't be like Wu Tsang. Wu Ergu chuckled. Wu Ergu paused slightly and said coldly, I'm not like him. Then, like a holy light bomb, Wu Ergu flew out at the speed of light. His strong aura gave people a sense of trust. The 9-star cultivators nodded. Ergu should be able to complete the task. Although he's a bit arrogant, his strength is top-notch. Wait patiently. So many people are using their heavenly eyes to lock on to my position. Lin Feng sped through the void with a calm look on his face. He could feel that there were many pursuers behind him. There were also countless Destiny Race experts in front of him who were preparing to intercept him. They wanted to take advantage of his injuries and weakness to give him a hard blow. Unfortunately, they had already lost their best chance. They couldn't kill me then, and they can't kill me now. Lin Feng smiled weakly. Even if he hadn't recovered his strength, the Destiny Race experts wouldn't be able to catch him if he ran at the speed of light with his 6th sense fully activated. There's no defense here. Yes, this direction. Not only did Lin Feng have Wu Qing as a spy, but he could also use the forbidden technique, Heavenly Eye. He also had the superior true treasure, Mao Yi, which forcibly increased the level of Heavenly Eye's perception by 1 level, allowing him to fully activate his 6th sense. The 6th sense was best at avoiding danger. Lin Feng was not greedy for small gains as he passed through the core area. He ignored all the weak Destiny Race teams that he passed by. He didn't care about these small gains. Time was the most important. They will definitely send 9-star experts to chase after me, including the one from before. Right now, they must be chasing after me furiously. Lin Feng smiled, his state of mind clear. It would be strange if the Destiny Race could swallow this. Even if he left the Destiny Realm, they would probably chase him to the ends of the earth. But once he left the Destiny Realm, without the Eye of Destiny in the void, The Origin Awakening continent was so big. How could they find him? It was harder than ascending to the sky. The entrance is up ahead. Lin Feng's expression was full of joy. Soon, he would leave this place. From the central area of the Destiny Realm to the entrance, there was not a single battle. However, there were many Destiny race experts gathered at the entrance. Obviously, they knew he was leaving. An 8-star threshold and 33 7-star martial artists? Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. Would such a formation be useful to him now? They really think I'm an arrow at the end of its flight. Although Lin Feng's body hadn't recovered, he still had 10 to 20% of his strength. He had just comprehended the complete understanding of Saber. Even Wu Tsang couldn't block it. How could these 7-star cultivators block it? Whoosh! Lin Feng's light and dark patterns intertwined. The battle saber condensed, and the space shook violently. The powerful aura of the 1,000 obscuring heavenly saber instantly descended, turning into ashes. Boom! Boom! Lin Feng had held back, and he had only unleashed the might of the 9th level. It wasn't even a tenth of what he had unleashed when he had attacked Wu Tsang. Even so, he had already caused the 7-star elites of the Destiny tribe to suffer a crushing defeat, and not a single one of them was left alive. Boom! 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 Without much effort, Lin Feng killed a group of Destiny race powerhouses who were guarding the gate and obtained countless treasures. In front of him now, these Destiny race experts were no different from ants. Goodbye, Destiny Realm. Lin Feng glanced at the sky and smiled. Then, he turned into a ray of light and left the Destiny Realm. Boom! There was a muffled sound of thunder in the sky. It was as if the heavens were angry, but it couldn't stop Lin Feng. Chapter 1879. Heaven Realm Mountain Teleportation Point. 1,800 years later, the originally simple and crude teleportation point had changed tremendously. Led by the Heavenly Tea Pavilion, Heavenly Dipper, Samsara, and the Azure Dragon Auction House, a small city was built. It was called the Heaven Realm City. Although Heaven Realm City was small, it had all kinds of facilities and buildings. After 1,800 years of development, the number of warriors in the city had exceeded 100,000. If it were not for the strict restrictions on strength and identity, it would not be difficult for the number of warriors to exceed 10 million or even 100 million. Although this place was close to Heaven Realm Mountain, it was built by the top 8 forces. Ordinary warriors were not qualified to enter at all. It's changed a lot. Lin Feng stepped into the city and looked around curiously. Although he was alone, he seemed more free and magnanimous. Leaving the Destiny Realm made him feel relaxed. It was as if he had broken free from all the shackles. The pursuers of the Destiny tribe? Lin Feng was not afraid at all. He had already gotten rid of them. Without using the forbidden technique Heavenly Eye, the Destiny tribe could not determine his location at all. Not to mention, there were so many warriors in Heaven Realm City. It was extremely difficult to locate him in the sea of people. An 8-star expert couldn't even detect his own aura. The only 9-star warrior who could detect his aura was the one who had been seriously injured by him. The other 9-star warriors had never seen him before. But he dared to come out? Now, I'm afraid he's at the entrance and is furious. Lin Feng smiled. The Destiny tribe bullied the weak and feared the strong. If they could not catch up with him in the Destiny realm, the possibility of them chasing him out was very small. He was also afraid. In his own territory, he had the advantage of location and could be unscrupulous. Who knew what would happen outside, especially when he was seriously injured and his combat power was greatly reduced? How could a 9-star warrior dare to take such a risk? They cared too much about their reputation. Lin Feng did not care. As a warrior, if he was overcautious in everything, he would lose many opportunities. However, although he did not think that the Destiny tribe would chase him out, it was time to leave. Lin Feng did not intend to stay in Heaven Realm City for long. A gentleman would not stand under a collapsing wall. Some things should be avoided. There was no point in trying to be brave. Right now, he only had less than 30% of his strength left. It will take a while to recover. Lin Feng walked towards the transmission array. This injury was the heaviest he had suffered since coming to Origin Awakened Continent. Which city? Thunder City, Wind City, Qilu City? Lin Feng didn't have any ideas at the moment, so he just thought about it casually. He did not have a fixed residence on Origin Awakened Continent. The only place he wanted to return to was the Green Palm Domain. However, it was not appropriate for him to go there now. After all, his injuries were not light. His top priority right now was to recover his strength. Only with sufficient strength would one be able to face all kinds of unexpected situations. Suddenly, Lin Feng casually spread out his aura and suddenly sensed a familiar aura. He thought for a moment and the corners of his mouth rose. It's good to meet them here. I was just about to look for them. His figure flashed and disappeared from where he stood. Big Dipper Plaza. There were 4 squares in the Heaven Realm City. They were located in the east, south, west, and north. Unlike before, there were 4 teleportation arrays. There was one in the center of each square. They belonged to the Heavenly Tea Pavilion, Big Dipper, Samsara, and the Tsang Dragon Auction House. Because there were many experts heading to the Heaven's Fate Realm, the Heaven Realm City was built in response. Now it had attracted the elites of the major forces. It was very lively. Junior sister, last time we made a mistake and returned in defeat. This time we will not fail again. The one who spoke was a young and handsome man. He wore a feathered crown, golden silk armor, and dragon-headed boots. He was very imposing. Although he was only a 7-star expert, he had at least 3 treasures on him. He was very rich. The girl beside him was as beautiful as a flower. She had a high ponytail and a pair of big silver-white eyes that seemed to be able to speak. Her facial features were exquisite and pleasant. In terms of appearance, she could be called a beauty. Wherever the two of them passed, they attracted all kinds of gazes. There were both men and women. However, there was only some admiration or envy. After all, the handsome young man and the beautiful girl both had the emblem of one of the 8 major forces, Big Dipper, on their chests. Behind the two of them, there were 5 other 7-star experts and an 8-star skinny old man whose eyes were drooping. He seemed to be sleeping with his head lowered. Yes, I really want to get a key to the chaotic void. The voice was as clear as spring water. It was the beautiful girl who came with Misty Cloud that day, Mei Yan. That day, Gong Lai and Lin Feng exchanged the key to the Void Gate, which made Mei Yan very envious. She was now a peak 7-star master, but if she wanted to break through and become an 8-star master, she would need a great opportunity. The turbulent void that was about to open was undoubtedly the best opportunity, but she did not have enough space crystals to buy or exchange for it. Therefore, she could only come to the Heaven's Fate realm to try her luck. However, she failed last time. Don't worry, junior sister. This time, with Elder Yang leading us, there will be no problem. The handsome young man, Yu Jun, patted his chest. Elder Yang used to travel the south and north with my father. He has been to the Heaven's Fate realm many times. He is very familiar with it. Mei Yan smiled, revealing 2 dimples. She said softly, "Sorry to trouble you, Elder Yang." She naturally recognized Elder Yang. This person was as famous as her master, Misty Cloud. He was also famous in Big Dipper. Everyone knew that he was extremely proficient in the Tao of Soul and was very talented. Ha ha! The skinny old man laughed dryly. His voice was hoarse. He slightly lowered his eyelids and 2 beams of light shot out from them. 2 children, don't worry and follow me. I guarantee that you will be able to walk on the Heaven's Fate realm like walking on flat ground. I can even sense the location of an 8-star expert of the Heaven's Fate race. In advance, swish. Before he finished speaking, a black figure suddenly appeared in front of the 7 people. It was as if he had appeared out of thin air. In an instant, the 7 people's expressions changed greatly. The skinny old man, Elder Yang, widened his eyes in shock. Halfway through his words, it was as if he was choked in his throat. He could not make any sound. He did not sense any aura of the newcomer at all. Even now, this person was standing in front of him, alive and well. He still could not sense the other party's aura. Thinking about it carefully, he was terrified. You. Elder Yang was nervous and tongue-tied. Beads of sweat appeared on his bald forehead. An inexplicable coldness spread from his back to the soles of his feet. We meet again. Lin Feng ignored the others and smiled at Mei Yan. The aura he had just sensed belonged to Mei Yan. Mei Yan's beautiful silver-white eyes flashed. Her round eyes were wide open. When she first saw Lin Feng, she did not recognize him because the current Lin Feng looked very miserable. His armor was broken beyond recognition, and his bull-horned helmet was completely shattered. Moreover, his appearance was very sudden. However, the moment Lin Feng spoke, she recognized him. This was because Lin Feng had left an extremely deep impression on her at that time. Big brother Lin Feng! Mei Yan shouted happily. Chapter 1880. Suddenly, Mei Yan's pretty face flushed red. She suddenly blurted out, forgetting that she and Lin Feng weren't actually very close. Lin Feng smiled and nodded, dissolving Mei Yan's awkwardness. When he first met Mei Yan, there were some unpleasantness, but as a man, he wouldn't hold it against a girl. If he really wanted to hold it against her, he wouldn't have given her the treasure that day. I sensed your aura just now, so I came over. Lin Feng smiled and looked at Mei Yan. Then, he glanced at the other 6 Heaven Star border experts and nodded politely. Brother Lin Feng, you. Mei Yan pointed at the broken black dragon demonic armor on Lin Feng. Her beautiful eyes widened. Are you okay? The other Heaven Star border experts also noticed Lin Feng's equipment. Lin Feng's appearance was too sudden, so they were shocked and didn't have time to take a closer look. His whole body was in tatters, as if he had just escaped from the war demon cave. He looked like a general who had lost an army. You're still wearing it when it's so tattered. Yu Jun glanced at him and mumbled. Then, he raised his head slightly and shook the golden silk armor on his body. Compared to Lin Feng's black and tattered armor, the golden silk armor was particularly eye-catching. This is... The skinny old man, Elder Yang, also recovered from his shock. However, in the next moment, he saw Lin Feng's broken armor and the remaining dark aura. His eyes widened even wider than lanterns. Little brother, the armor on you, could it be the black dragon demonic armor? Elder Yang swallowed his saliva. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He looked at Elder Yang and said, Elder, you have good eyes. Oh my God, it really is. Elder Yang was shocked. He stared at the lifeless dragon head and shook his head as he muttered to himself. It was too shocking. Even if it was a battle between top-notch 8-star great beings, an elite true treasure with top-notch defense would not be damaged to this extent. Among the known true treasures, the black dragon demonic armor was one of the best. Elder Yang, is the black dragon demonic armor very good? Yu Jun could not help but ask when he saw Elder Yang's shocked expression. Elder Yang pursed his dry lips and said in a deep voice, according to the myriad treasure mirror, the black dragon demonic armor is a dark elemental defensive armor. With the eye of the black dragon as its core, it has extremely strong close combat defensive abilities. Among all the defensive elite true treasures, it ranks 48th. Gasps could be heard everywhere. Yu Jun and the other Heavenly Dipper sovereigns were dumbfounded. It was a defense-type elite true treasure that was ranked in the top 50. Every single one of them was a top-grade treasure amongst top-grade treasures, and they couldn't be bought in an auction at all. They were treasured by the various great powers and clans, and they could be said to be priceless treasures. Compared to it, ordinary elite true treasures were not even worth mentioning. Right now, it was being worn by an unknown young man. The scariest thing was, this elite true treasure ranked 48th was actually broken into such a state. What happened? Yujune's face was flushed red. He didn't even dare to look at Lin Feng. Thinking of what he had just said, he had lost all face. Compared to Lin Feng's black dragon demonic armor, the golden silk armor he was wearing was the real deal. Forgive my poor eyesight, but little brother, is that the bull war helmet on your head? The skinny old man, Elder Yang, was very curious. Apart from cultivation, his favorite thing to do was to study true treasures. No, this is the Taurus helmet, Lin Feng said. Elder Yang nodded and stared at the golden helmet with broken horns. This helmet is not recorded in the myriad treasure mirror. Lin Feng nodded. It was normal. Some of the Destiny race's treasures came from the Origin Awakened continent, and some were obtained from the Void Turbulence themselves. There were also some treasures that were of the same type. Therefore, this old man, who seemed to be very proficient in true treasures, recognized some treasures and some not. Senior, if you like it, I'll give it to you as a souvenir. Lin Feng smiled and took off the Taurus helmet. He could see a kind of obsession in this skinny old man's eyes. Obviously, he liked to study treasures. This. Elder Yang's expression was very funny. He obviously wanted it, but because of his identity, he was a bit embarrassed. However, he could not bear to reject it. This treasure is already broken, Lin Feng said softly. He did not feel too much regret. As the saying went, make the best use of everything. The Taurus helmet had accompanied him to defeat the 9-star Destiny race's expert, and it had already completed its mission. Elder Yang took it with trembling hands. His eyes lit up completely, and his breathing became hurried. Elite true treasure, this is also an elite true treasure. The surrounding Heaven Star border experts were dumbfounded and fell silent. Another elite true treasure. Where did this young man come from? How did he have so many elite true treasures? The scariest thing was that all the elite true treasures on him were broken. What kind of battle could be so fierce that all the elite true treasures were broken? Big brother Lin Feng, you were attacked by the Destiny race's expert? Mei Yin covered her mouth and asked in shock. You can say that. Lin Feng smiled. You were attacked by the Destiny race's expert, but you still managed to escape? Yujun whispered at the side. Humans were like this. When they saw people of the same age, they would unconsciously compare and feel jealous, especially in front of the girl they liked. Lin Feng pointed at the black dragon demonic armor on his body and smiled. Look at me. You can see how miserable I was. Mei Yin bit her lips lightly, and her beautiful eyes became misty. There must be many Destiny race expert. Lin Feng raised his head slightly, and the battle appeared in his mind. He still had lingering fear. It was a one-on-one battle. He was really strong. One-on-one? Everyone looked at each other. Elder Yang, who was carefully looking at the Taurus crown, suddenly widened his eyes as if he had discovered something. He staggered and almost dropped the Taurus crown. He was sweating profusely and his entire body was cold. Little brother, what was the Destiny race expert you fought with? Elder Yang asked in shock. Lin Feng pondered for a moment. He was standing on a golden outstanding true treasure, and he was very well-rounded in both offense and defense. He had a scepter that could release endless lightning and create lightning puppet. It should be an outstanding true treasure too. Outstanding true treasure? The surrounding Heaven Star border experts were all stunned. Did they hear it wrong? Yujun couldn't help but say, how could it be an outstanding true treasure? Where did so many outstanding true treasures come from? I haven't even heard of them. Lin Feng glanced at Yujun, and then looked at Elder Yang. His controlling attack was very strong. Senior, do you recognize it? Elder Yang was already dumbfounded, and he couldn't speak. Recognize it? How could he not recognize it? There were only a few 9-star experts in the Destiny race, and there were only a few known outstanding true treasures. When Lin Feng said the first golden true treasure, He already knew who it was. Little brother, you just said that you had a one-on-one battle? He is a 9-star expert of the destiny race? Elder Yang's mouth twitched and his body trembled. Boom! The Heaven Star Border experts' heads exploded, and their hair stood on end. 9-star expert? Chapter 1881. How was that possible? One-on-one with a 9-star expert, and he survived? All the Heavenly Dipper sovereigns felt their mouths and tongues go dry as they stared at Lin Feng in shock. However, they couldn't tell from his expression that he was lying or boasting. Instead, he was very calm, just like a deep lake. No wonder, no wonder. Elder Yang murmured. He finally understood how Lin Feng's elite true treasures were destroyed. Facing the attack of a 9-star expert and the bombardment of an outstanding true treasure, it was natural for them to be damaged. Lin Feng nodded. He's a 9-star expert. Elder Yang took a deep breath, picked up the Taurus crown, and pointed at a hole above. There are traces of lightning here. Judging from the trajectory, depth, and damage of the entire Taurus crown, there are only 3 known treasures that can do this. And only one of these 3 treasures came from the Destiny race. One of the 6 kings of the Destiny race, Wu Tsang's outstanding true treasure, the Black Thunder Puppet Scepter. Wu Tsang. Lin Feng murmured a few times and remembered the name. He looked at Elder Yang and nodded. This 8-star elder was quite knowledgeable, which was admirable. It was time for him to replenish his knowledge, especially about the experts at the top of the Origin Awakened continent, outstanding true treasures, and so on. As the saying went, know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will never be defeated. There was no harm in learning more about the enemy. After all, he had made a big hole in the Destiny race this time. They definitely wouldn't let him go. A battle in the future was unavoidable. As Lin Feng pondered, the Heavenly Dipper experts were stunned. They looked at Lin Feng with shock, reverence, and disbelief. Even their master, a top-notch expert of the Heavenly Dipper race, would not dare to fight a 9-star expert of the Destiny race one-on-one. That was a 9-star expert. Although this ordinary-looking human in front of them seemed to have lost miserably, he had at least kept his life. This was already a very impressive battle result. Big brother Lin Feng, you're so awesome. Mei Yan stared at Lin Feng, her eyes almost turning into the shape of hearts. Her heart was bursting. Not only her, but there was also a 7-star Heavenly Dipper woman behind her. She was also looking at Lin Feng with admiration. The women of the Origin Enlightened continent were usually filled with admiration and adoration towards experts. Yujun felt even more upset when he saw this, but he didn't dare to offend Lin Feng. He only muttered in a low voice, "Isn't it still a crushing defeat?" Mei Yan turned around and glared at him with her almond-shaped eyes. She reprimanded him. "It's already very, very impressive of you to be able to fight against a 9-star expert. Don't be so sarcastic. Why don't you give it a try if you're so capable?" Yujun's face swelled red and he stammered, unable to speak. "That's right." Old Yang glanced at Yujun and sighed lightly in his heart before saying, "Little brother, although you lost, it's still a glorious thing. Being able to survive from the hands of a 9-star master from the Heaven's Mandate race is already an amazing feat. By the way, little brother, how did you escape? Did you rely on a life-saving elite true treasure?" Elder Yang asked curiously. Lin Feng shook his head. "What's that?" Elder Yang didn't understand. Lin Feng said, "Both sides were injured. He fainted, so I ran away." Bang! It was as if an atomic bomb had exploded in an instant. All the Heaven's Dipper sovereigns felt their legs go soft when they heard this, and they almost fell to the ground. Did they hear it wrong? Although Lin Feng said it very casually, the meaning in these few short sentences was no different from a stormy sea. Both sides were injured. Both sides were injured when he fought against a 9-star master from the Heaven's Mandate race. Furthermore, he had even knocked the other party unconscious. Oh my God! Little brother, you. In an instant, Lin Feng became incomparably tall in Elder Yang's eyes. It was already very powerful to be able to survive from the hands of a 9-star master from the Heaven's Mandate race. However, many 8-star masters could also rely on life-saving true treasures to do this. However, to fight with a 9-star master from the Heaven's Mandate race until both sides were injured and even knocked the opponent unconscious, this was terrifying. One had to know that the opponent was a famous big shot. Wu Tsang ranked 65th on the Origin Awakening list. What did this mean? This ordinary-looking human youth in front of him actually had a 9-star battle prowess. Actually, I just came back from the Heaven's Mandate realm and wanted to go to Heaven's Dipper to see Senior Misty Cloud and Brother Gong Lai. Lin Feng smiled and looked at Elder Yang and Mei Yin. This was his true purpose. As for his own strength and the exposure of his grudge with the Heaven's Mandate race, Lin Feng didn't care. The Heaven's Mandate race wasn't just a piece of delicious cake in the Origin Awakening continent, they were almost like a public enemy existence. The reason why no one dared to touch the Heaven's Mandate race was that they had many experts and had the Death Soul Shock. This made other forces wary and didn't dare to act rashly. After all, whoever touched them would be unlucky. Kill 1,000 enemies and lose 10,000 of your own. There was no harm in revealing some of his strength and achievements at the appropriate time. It would save a lot of trouble and make things more convenient. After all, his next target was the turbulent void. I see. Elder Yang nodded. I'll take you there, big brother Lin Feng. Hearing this, Mei Yin's face beamed with joy. She hurriedly stepped forward and held Lin Feng's arm, as if she was afraid that Lin Feng would run away. Although her little face was slightly red from shyness, her face was full of joy and joy. Okay. Lin Feng smiled. Then, under the envious gazes of Yu Jun and the other Heaven's Dipper experts, Lin Feng left with Mei Yin. Elder Yang even abandoned Yu Jun mercilessly and volunteered to be the guide. Forget it, boss. We can't win against him. A sharp-nosed young man beside Yu Jun sighed. That's right. That brat is simply a monster. He was able to fight head-on against a 9-star Destiny race expert, and he even knocked his opponent unconscious. He's too terrifying. One of the men revealed a fearful expression and said, If we anger him, we won't even know how we'll die. They're not even on the same level. Even Elder Yang is respectful to him. If what he said is true, it won't take long for the entire Origin Awakened continent to know that there is such a person. His name will shake the world. Yu Jun stared at the backs of the 3 people until they disappeared. Only then did he let out a long sigh. He wasn't stupid. He was just blinded by jealousy. A human youth covered in elite treasures wasn't someone he could provoke even if he didn't have a battle record against a 9-star Heaven's Mandate race expert. From the beginning to the end, he couldn't even sense the other party's aura. The difference in strength was like the difference between a firefly and the sun. Comparisons are odious. Yu Jun sighed and shook his head. He glanced at the Heaven's Dipper brothers and smiled bitterly. Don't worry. I'm not stupid enough to compete with such a monster. It's a pity. If only I could get to know him. Yu Jun felt a little regretful. He had done some stupid things in the heat of the moment. If only his attitude could be a little gentler. If he could get to know such a super expert, he would have profited greatly. What a pity. Yu Jun sighed. Chapter 1882. Ultimate Dragon Sky City. So, above the Thunder City, Wind City, and other major cities, there are 3 other imperial cities. Stepping out of the transmission array, Lin Feng looked at the incomparably huge imperial city and exclaimed, I didn't expect Brother Lin Feng to not know about this. Mei Yin covered her mouth and chuckled. It's normal that Brother Lin Feng doesn't know about this. After all, he's not from the 5 major clans or the 18 top clans, nor is he one of the 8 major clans. Elder Yang chuckled. Although the 3 imperial cities aren't a secret in the Origin Awakened continent, more than 99% of the warriors don't know about them. Lin Feng nodded. Previously, he had already felt that it was strange why cities like Thunder City and Wind City were already the top cities in Origin Awakened Continent. After all, the Thunder God clan and the Elf clan were only among the 18 top clans, and the strongest was only an 8-star expert. It turned out that there were secret imperial cities above these big cities. The 3 imperial cities were Ziming City, Ultimate Dragon Sky City, and King Reincarnation City. They were the headquarters of the 8 major clans. Ziming City was built by Ziwei Star Pavilion and Tianming Pavilion. One of them has the strongest military force while the other has the strongest financial resources. They are a perfect combination and are invincible. Although Ziming City only has 2 forces among the 3 imperial cities, it is actually ranked first among the imperial cities, Elder Yang continued. Lin Feng's strength had really shocked him. In addition, Lin Feng had generously gifted the elite supreme treasure, the Taurus crown, to Elder Yang's liking. That was why Elder Yang had abandoned Yu Jun and volunteered to be their guide. Elder Yang was a big shot in the Origin Awakened Continent. He was well known for his soul Dao. He had always been eccentric and unreasonable, but now he was willing to condescend to be kind to a human youth like a grandfather. If anyone saw this, they would be shocked. So, Ultimate Dragon Sky City was built by Deadly Extreme, Blue Dragon Auction Hall, and Big Dipper? Lin Feng asked. The name of the imperial cities told him a thing or two. Elder Yang nodded. The King's Samsara City was built by the Assassins, the King's Arena, and the Samsara City. They are slightly better than the Ultimate Dragon Sky City in terms of fighting power, but they are not as rich as us. Lin Feng nodded. It must be because of the Azure Dragon Auction House in the Heavenly Dragon City. As far as he knew, the wealthiest of the 8 major forces was the Heavenly Tea Pavilion, and the second was the Azure Dragon Auction House. The 2 of them were the best, and the other 6 forces combined could not compare to them. In terms of fighting power, the King's Samsara City had Thorn, who ranked in the top 3. The King's Arena and the Samsara City, which were in the middle, were surely stronger than the Ultimate Dragon Sky City. Although the Extreme Dragon Sky City was ranked in the top 3 in terms of combat power, the Azure Dragon Auction House, Big Dipper, and Heavenly Tea Pavilion were recognized as the weakest among the 8 forces. However, Ziming City only has the Ziwei Star Tower, but the combat power of the Imperial City is comparable to the King of Samsara City. It's quite powerful. Lin Feng was shocked. Comparing the Imperial City, the strength of the 8 major forces could be seen. Along the way, the Extreme Dragon Sky City was quite lively. Music was playing, and people were coming and going. The streets were as crowded as a marketplace. Noises could be heard everywhere, and there were all kinds of dazzling goods. It's so lively, Lin Feng exclaimed. It's indeed more lively than usual. Elder Yang nodded and said, the restaurants and hotels in the city are almost full. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. Brother Lin Feng, you may not know this, but the Ultimate Dragon Sky City is lively every once in a while. It's more interesting than the other 2 imperial cities. Mei Yan's silver-white eyes rolled, and she smiled. The Azure Dragon Auction House? Lin Feng immediately understood. Mei Yan smiled, showing 2 small dimples. Brother Lin Feng, you're so smart. You guessed it right away. Lin Feng smiled. The Azure Dragon Auction House was part of the Ultimate Dragon Sky City. It would naturally place the most important and attractive items in the main city. Normally, the Extreme Dragon Sky City would only hold an auction once every epoch and once every 100 epoch. However, in the past 2,000 years there has been an exception. There will be an auction every 100 years, Old Yang said. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Is it the key to the Void Gate? Elder Yang nodded. Yes, once every 100 years. In the past 2,000 years, the Ultimate Dragon Sky City has sold 89 keys. So many? Lin Feng was surprised. That's not a lot, Brother Lin Feng. Mei Yan pursed her red lips, and her beautiful eyes flashed. Every time there is an auction, everyone is crazy about the keys. Even 890 keys will be sold, let alone 89. That was true. After all, there were more than 1,000 8-star experts, and there were hundreds of thousands of 7-star experts. No matter how many keys there were to the Void Gate, there would not be enough for everyone. What is the auction price of the keys now? Lin Feng asked. He only knew that the first key was sold for a sky-high price of 1 billion void crystals, but he was not sure about the rest. The 89th key was sold for 1 billion void crystals, Elder Yang said. Lin Feng was surprised. It didn't fall, but rose instead? Elder Yang said, since the first key to the Void Gate was sold for 1 billion void crystals, it has been maintained for almost a few hundred years. Then the price began to fall, and the lowest price was 650 million void crystals. The person who bought it was considered wise. After reaching the bottom, it began to rebound, and now it is getting higher and higher. I believe that the price will continue to rise in the future. Lin Feng was deep in thought. It was a little different from what he had expected. Is it because the turbulent void is opening soon? Lin Feng asked. Elder Yang said, according to statistics, every time the turbulent void opens, about 100 keys will be auctioned. There will be 30 or 40 keys, and there will be close to 200 keys. Therefore, the closer it is to 100 keys, the higher the price may be. Lin Feng understood. The rarer something is, the more expensive it is. With the keys almost sold out, the price will naturally increase. When is the next auction? Lin Feng asked. About 3 years later. Brother Lin Feng is also interested in the keys? Elder Yang was surprised. I'm afraid it's not a good time to bid for the keys now. Lin Feng smiled and said, we'll see. Mei Yan was puzzled. Big brother Lin Feng, didn't you sell the key to senior brother Gong? Lin Feng smiled and said, that was then and this is now. I don't have to buy it. Let's wait and see. He came to Extreme Dragon Sky City not for the key to the Void Gate, but for something else. However, buying a key was something he would have to do sooner or later. As for 1 billion void crystals, 1 billion void crystals, or even a higher price, Lin Feng didn't care. He was not short of money now. As they chatted casually along the way, the three of them quickly passed through the never-ending streets and arrived in front of a huge steel city. The city was heavily guarded and palaces stood in great numbers. It was just like a city within a city. Shockingly, there were 2 golden sculptures of uncanny craftsmanship standing in the air. Heavenly Spirit. We're here, Brother Lin Feng. Elder Yang smiled. Chapter 1883. Although Big Dipper was ranked last among the 8 forces, it didn't mean that it was weak. It was an alliance formed by some independent experts, secluded experts, and even the elites of the 18 top tribes. However, the system was a little loose, and there were as many as 3 9-star experts. Moreover, because it involved the various top clans, Big Dipper's financial resources were also very abundant. The steel city in front of him was majestic and magnificent. Elder Yang. Elder Yang. Elder Yang. With Elder Yang leading the way, Lin Feng walked as if he was walking on flat ground. There were no obstacles wherever he went. The Big Dipper experts either greeted him warmly or bowed respectfully. Some even stood there and waited for Elder Yang to pass before they dared to move. As an 8-star expert and a person of virtue and prestige, Elder Yang had a considerable status and was respected by many in the Heavenly Dipper continent. This is my residence. Brother Lin Feng, if you have time, feel free to come over. If you need any help, I'll be more than happy to welcome you. Elder Yang said with narrowed eyes as he pointed at a huge black palace with a golden horse and a huge saber in front of him. All right. Lin Feng replied with a smile. His gaze lingered on the huge palace as he sized it up. He had seen many such buildings in the city within the city. They were the standard for 8-star experts. Many martial artists walked in and out of the palace. It was very spacious, and there were countless servants. Obviously, Elder Yang was very important in Big Dipper. He wasn't weak either. Among the 8-star experts, he was considered to be in the upper middle class. Compared to the luxurious houses of 8-star experts in Big Dipper City, Osmanthus Palace and Orchid Palace were slightly inferior to 7-star experts' residences. However, they were still exquisite and beautiful. There were small bridges and flowing water, and the buildings were like Jiangnan's lofts. The environment was elegant and the wind was gentle. Compared to the palace, it was less dignified and more peaceful. It was more suitable for cultivation. It's not bad to cultivate here. It's relaxing, Lin Feng praised. Mei Yan smiled. Big brother Lin is right. Actually, many 8-star experts didn't change their residences after advancing from 7-star to 8-star. They like to cultivate in such a comfortable and warm environment. If I advance to 8 stars in the future, I will definitely not change my residence. Lin Feng smiled. Some experts liked fame, status, and power, while others only pursued strength. Everyone had their own interests, so there was no need to care about their strengths and weaknesses. For example, the possibility of Elder Yang breaking through to become a 9-star powerhouse was almost zero, so he naturally wouldn't pursue illusory strength. For someone like Mei Yan, who was young and possessed outstanding talent, what she pursued was naturally greater strength. The three of them chatted as they moved forward. Soon, they arrived at the palace of Misty Cloud Master. Brother Lin Feng, this old man will escort you here. If you have time, why don't you come to my house for a chat? This old man will wait for your good news. Old Yang naturally wanted to befriend a super genius like Lin Feng. If they could pull him into the Heaven Dipper realm, it would be a great merit. However, Elder Yang didn't have much hope for this. If ordinary experts wanted to join a force, they would have done so long ago. There was no need for them to wait until they were at the 8 or 9-star level. Elder Yang still couldn't figure out Lin Feng's strength, but judging from the clues, Lin Feng was definitely not weaker than him. This was already very scary. One must know that Lin Feng was too young. Okay, Senior Yang. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Then, he parted ways with Elder Yang. The martial artists guarding the front didn't dare to stop them. They peeked at Lin Feng curiously and respectfully. Lin Feng looked a little unfamiliar. However, someone who could chat and laugh with Elder Yang and be on the same level as him couldn't be an ordinary person. Moreover, even the little princess, Mei Yan, who had always been arrogant, attached herself to this human youth like a docile kitten. It was even more amazing. One must know that Mei Yan had always been indifferent to other pursuers. Old Tai, who do you think this human is? The martial artist guarding the front couldn't help but ask. Another martial artist looked at Lin Feng and Mei Yan's back and whispered, "Who knows? He must be the successor of some clan. He's so imposing that Elder Yang had to personally send him over. Didn't you see Miss Mei Yan's eyes? They're sparkling, and her face is filled with adoration. I bet that this young man definitely has a powerful background. I've never seen Miss Mei Yan like this before. Alas, my dream lover. Dream your head. You're not even qualified to be a spare tire. Is Miss Mei Yan someone you can dream about?" The martial artists guarding the front discussed and guessed Lin Feng's background. Mei Yan was Misty Cloud's disciple. Naturally, she could enter Misty Cloud's mansion as she wished. The two walked side by side through a long corridor and entered a garden filled with birds and fragrant flowers. Further inside was the place where Senior Misty Cloud cultivated in seclusion. Although the mansion was big, the place where Misty Cloud cultivated in seclusion was definitely quiet and secluded. Fifth Senior Martial Brother. Mei Yan greeted. In front of them was a man with blue eyes and green hair. He had a resolute expression and a tall and straight figure. He nodded slightly at Mei Yan. Then, his gaze suddenly sharpened and fell on Lin Feng. He sized him up from head to toe. "And this is? Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and greeted. Mei Yin cupped her hands slightly. Fifth senior marshal brother, why are you here? Is master not here? The blue-eyed, blue-haired man, Wen Luo, looked ahead. Master and marshal uncle are discussing something. Mei Yin pouted, somewhat disappointed. Her gaze fell on Lin Feng with an apologetic look. Master and marshal uncle should be discussing something. It might take a while. How long is a while? Lin Feng asked. The blue-eyed, blue-haired man Wen Luo answered. It might take a few hours or a few days. It might even take a few dozen days. It's a bit long. Lin Feng didn't want to waste too much time here. He had just come out of the Destiny region and had many things to deal with. Seeing Misty Cloud was only one of them and wouldn't take up too much time. When meeting a senior, one should have the attitude of meeting a senior. Little brats these days. When Luo glanced at Lin Feng and said indifferently, "What's a while? You're so impatient at such a young age." No, fifth senior marshal brother. Mei Yin wanted to explain. Lin Feng smiled and said, "He's your master, not mine." He had only met Misty Cloud once and didn't have much of a relationship with him. In fact, Misty Cloud still owed him a favor. Origin Awakening Continent respected martial art. Calling someone a senior was a form of respect and didn't mean anything. You! When Luo was choked. His face immediately turned red and he was somewhat angry. Lin Feng naturally didn't care about his feelings. His eyes shone and the powerful aura of an 8-star expert spread out. It carried a strong sense of oppression. It was clearly done deliberately. Swish. When Luo's expression immediately turned ugly. His breathing was somewhat hurried. He didn't expect this unremarkable young man to be so much stronger than him. Chapter 1884. Rippling Cloud Hall was quiet and elegant. There were all kinds of spirit-gathering trees around, gathering spirit chi, making the whole area full of spirit chi like a fairyland. This was the core of Mist Cloud Master's mansion. At this time, Mist Cloud Master was having a long conversation with a middle-aged man. "Junior brother, you are lucky. I happen to have some spare money." Misty Cloud Master put the space ring on the table and chuckled. 250 million space crystals, all of it is here. Junior brother, you should know that I have always been a clean man. The middle-aged man smiled and accepted the interspatial ring. How can I not know your personality? You gave all of your wealth to your disciples, at least 1 billion. It is a good life to be your disciple. Mist Cloud Master smiled. You can't say that. If you treat people with sincerity, they will treat you with sincerity. The middle-aged man nodded. By the way, senior brother, I heard that you wanted to lend the rest of your savings to Gong Lai. How come you still have some left? Mist Cloud Master nodded slightly. So junior brother, you are lucky. He only accepted one elite true treasure and didn't accept the 250 million void crystals. That is why I can lend it to you. The middle-aged man was stunned. He didn't even want it for free. How can there be such a stupid person? Mist Cloud Master smiled. I don't know if he is stupid or not, but that child is a promising talent. The middle-aged man laughed. Senior brother, are you thinking of accepting a disciple again? No. Mist Cloud Master flicked his sleeves and tasted the wine. This child comes from a famous sect. There must be a big shot behind him. How can I touch him? Let's not talk about this. Junior brother, you are in such a hurry for money. Are you thinking of going to the turbulent void? The middle-aged man shook his head. Senior brother, you forgot. I have it. Mist Cloud Master patted his head and laughed. Look at my memory. You have been to the turbulent void when it opened last time. Of course you have the key. The middle-aged man picked up the wine cup and drank it. To be honest, senior brother, there is a big secret in the turbulent void. But only 9-star experts can touch it. I had a good opportunity last time. Not only did I become an 8-star expert, but I also obtained an excellent true treasure. But I still couldn't touch the deepest part. This time, I don't want to miss it again. Misty Cloud Master pondered and nodded. So, Junior Brother wants to cross the bottleneck and reach 9 stars? The middle-aged man had a resolute expression on his face. I've long since reached the peak of 8 star in all aspects, but my soul isn't strong enough to cause my body to undergo a fundamental transformation and reach the highest level. Misty Cloud said, that's why Junior Brother wants to take advantage of the auction to see if there are any treasures that can improve the quality of one's soul and life force. That's right. The middle-aged man nodded. But this kind of treasure is extremely rare, basically. Misty Cloud Master frowned as he hesitated. A treasure that could enhance one's soul. How rare was that? Compared to the heaven and earth fruit that could strengthen one's body, treasures that could strengthen one's soul were extremely rare. That was because the soul itself was a very minute existence, and strengthening it was even more difficult. Over 99% of Origin Awakened Continent's martial artists cultivated the soul of the earth. The body lineage's cultivation of the soul was very shallow. The middle-aged man's name was Bai Feng, and he was Misty Cloud's junior brother. Originally, his strength was indeed inferior to Misty Cloud's, but he had once entered the turbulent void and obtained a fortuitous encounter. Afterwards, he had advanced by leaps and bounds, and was now at the peak of 8 star. His strength had completely surpassed Misty Cloud. Even in the heavenly Dipper realms they were all top experts. It doesn't matter. Let's see how our luck is. Bai Feng didn't really care. Perhaps this time I entered the turbulent void and was lucky enough to break through again. Misty Cloud raised his cup. Then I wish Junior Brother good luck. Bai Feng also smiled and raised his cup. Right at this moment, a huge aura suddenly rolled over, bringing with it a carefree and powerful aura. In an instant, Misty Cloud and Bai Feng's expressions changed slightly. They looked at each other and revealed a surprised expression. What a powerful aura! Peak of 8 star? Not necessarily. It might be an expert proficient in the Tao of Soul. A very unfamiliar aura. Let's go out and take a look. Outside Rippling Cloud Hall, Mei Yen and Wen Luo stared blankly at Lin Feng, somewhat dumbfounded. This was especially true for their 5th senior brother, Wen Luo. His dark blue eyes were filled with shock. Originally, he had not thought much of this brat who was still wet behind the ears, but now he was completely shocked. The aura emitted by this human youth was too terrifying. Even if he was an 8-star expert, when he touched it at close range, he felt his heart fluttering like a big ship sailing on the sea. That was definitely the power of a peak 8-star expert, he was very sure. However, he had never seen this human youth in front of him before. Impossible! Wen Luo was stunned. Right at this moment, a strong wind blew over, and a black and white figure suddenly appeared. One had white hair and a youthful face, with a celestial aura, and the other was mighty and strong, walking like a dragon or tiger. Master! Martial uncle! Wen Luo and Mei Yen saw the people who came and immediately bowed. The people who came were Misty Cloud and Bai Feng. Both of their gazes landed on Lin Feng. Bai Feng's fierce tiger eyes stared at Lin Feng with some curiosity. Even though he was experienced and had seen 99% of Origin Awakened Continent's 8-star martial artists, this human youth in front of him was very unfamiliar. On the contrary, Misty Cloud smiled calmly, narrowing his eyes with a smile and appreciation. I was wondering who it was, so it's you, little brother. Misty Cloud stroked his beard and laughed. I really have to look at you in a new light after not seeing you for 3 days. Little brother's speed of improvement is amazing. Misty Cloud was very shocked. The last time they met, Lin Feng was only a 7-star expert, but now his aura and strength were not below him. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Misty Cloud sighed. Senior is too kind. Lin Feng smiled and returned the greeting. Junior came abruptly. I hope Senior can forgive me. Little brother is too polite. Misty Cloud smiled. It's this old man who is not a good host. Little brother, you have come, this old man can't wait to welcome you. The two exchanged pleasantries as if they were peers. Mei Yin's beautiful eyes flashed, looking at Lin Feng with even more admiration. Wen Luo's expression was a bit ugly, but he had just mocked him. Who would have thought that this ordinary-looking young man in front of him, even his master had to be polite? What was he? Senior brother, won't you introduce him? Bai Feng stepped forward and looked at Lin Feng curiously with a smile. This is the little brother I mentioned to you before in Destiny Domain, Misty Cloud said. Destiny Domain? Bai Feng's eyes lit up, and he suddenly understood. Little brother is indeed extraordinary. Greetings, senior. Lin Feng bowed respectfully. Bai Feng laughed. No need to be so polite. My surname is Bai Feng. I'm this old man's junior brother. Senior Bai. Lin Feng smiled. What old man? Misty Cloud glared. Am I very old? Your junior brother is really. Misty Cloud shook his head helplessly and looked at Lin Feng. My junior brother likes to joke, please don't laugh. Come, please come in. Lin Feng nodded with a smile and followed Misty Cloud inside. Chapter 1885. In the rippling cloud hall, the fragrance of wine filled the air. Misty Cloud Master was very hospitable and welcomed him warmly. Sorry to disturb Senior. Lin Feng said. What are you talking about? It's just a small matter. I was just chatting with my junior brother. What's there to disturb? I'm very happy that little brother came to see me. Misty Cloud Master smiled and poured Lin Feng a cup of wine. It tasted sweet and had a hint of glutinous rice wine taste. It was very special. A clear energy spread throughout his body. It was very warm. Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised and curious. This wine is the warm glutinous garden wine personally brewed by my senior brother. It's brewed with the highest quality glutinous rice and the heaven and earth fruit green jade garden for 10,000 years. It can only be drunk. You can't buy it outside. Bai Feng smiled. No wonder when I drink it, I can feel the warm energy of heaven and earth. Lin Feng suddenly understood. He took another sip and clicked his tongue in praise. Bai Feng let out a soft and curiously looked at Lin Feng. Little brother, have you ever consumed green jade garden before? No. Lin Feng replied. Bai Feng said, that's strange. Normally speaking, when drinking this wine for the first time, one's skin will turn red. It will stimulate the blood and improve one's physique. Even if you've eaten green jade garden before, there should be some effect. Maybe it's because of my special physique. Lin Feng smiled. He roughly understood the reason. Although the heaven and earth fruit was good, he had eaten too many of them. His body naturally developed an immunity, and the absorption effect was greatly reduced. Misty Cloud Master nodded. Different physiques. The warm glutinous garden wine is not effective for all cultivators. With a benevolent smile, Misty Cloud looked at Lin Feng. It seems that little brother has returned from the Destiny realm safe and sound. If Lai knew about this, he would be very happy. He has been very worried about your safety. Lin Feng said, Brother Gong, are you in seclusion? Misty Cloud Master nodded. The chaotic void is about to open. My disciple hopes to enter it in his best condition and strength. Bai Feng looked at Lin Feng curiously and said, I heard from senior brother that Brother Lin's situation in the Heaven's Fate world is not good. You are being chased by the Heaven's Fate race and have nowhere to hide. It seems like senior brother was exaggerating. Lin Feng smiled and said, I'm not exaggerating. I was indeed chased by the Destiny race until I was battered and exhausted. It wasn't easy for me to escape. Misty Cloud and Bai Feng suddenly understood. Lin Feng was not the only one who had been chased by the Destiny race after entering the Destiny realm. The Destiny race had never shown any respect to anyone. They would chase anyone they did not like. However, to be able to escape from the Destiny race's pursuit was already quite impressive. However, what Misty Cloud Master and Bai Feng didn't know was that Lin Feng hadn't escaped from an ordinary Destiny Race expert. Instead, he had escaped from a 9-star Destiny Race expert. The difference in difficulty was like heaven and earth. They chatted happily. Misty Cloud Master and Bai Feng were both experienced and wanted to get to know Lin Feng. Lin Feng was also happy to make two friends despite the difference in age. After all, both of them held high positions in the Heavenly Star continent and were quite strong. After drinking and chatting, they were completely familiar with each other. It was as if they regretted not having met earlier. Misty Cloud Master chuckled and said, "Little brother, I'm afraid you didn't come just to chat with this old man, right?" Lin Feng nodded and said, "I won't hide it from Senior. I came here for another matter. Senior mentioned before that Senior's junior brother has an outstanding supreme treasure and wants to exchange for it. Is that correct?" Misty Cloud Master nodded, and Bai Feng's eyes flashed. Although it was a slight change in expression, how could it escape Lin Feng's eyes? He looked at Bai Feng with surprise and joy and said, "Senior Bai can't be the owner of that outstanding supreme treasure, right?" Bai Feng glanced at Misty Cloud Master and said, "Senior brother did come to find me that day." Lin Feng smiled slightly. Obviously, Bai Feng acquiesced. Lin Feng said, "I wonder if Senior can take out your outstanding supreme treasure for a look?" Bai Feng was slightly hesitant. After all, he had just met Lin Feng, but seeing Senior brother Misty Cloud Master nod, he was relieved and nodded. After all, this was Big Dipper City, so there was nothing to be afraid of. What's more, his strength was much stronger than Lin Feng's. Whoosh! A black lustrous light suddenly appeared. It was a dragon boat-like existence with a black demonic head. It appeared exceptionally small in Bai Feng's hand. However, even though it was small, it still had all its vital organs. The terrifying power that surged out from the black demonic head caused the surrounding area to seemingly sink into endless darkness. Dark element! Lin Feng was overjoyed. He had come here for the outstanding supreme treasure. He didn't know the whereabouts of other outstanding supreme treasures. In the Heavenly Tea Pavilion and the Azure Dragon Auction House, even elite supreme treasures were rare. Every outstanding supreme treasure in the Origin Awakening continent was a priceless treasure. Only Senior Misty Cloud Master mentioned it last time. He had a junior brother who had an outstanding supreme treasure, but he was very stubborn and insisted on exchanging for it. What did this mean? This outstanding supreme treasure was not compatible with Senior White. It's the dark element. Bai Feng's palms were sweating under Lin Feng's scorching gaze. Since ancient times, there had been many people fighting over an outstanding supreme treasure. If it weren't for Senior brother Misty Cloud Master, he wouldn't have taken out the treasure. After all, as the saying goes, treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. It wasn't that he was afraid of Lin Feng, but it was better to avoid trouble if possible. Lin Feng sighed lightly and a light flashed in his eyes. He said apologetically, "Junior forgot himself. It's normal." Misty Cloud Master chuckled and filled Lin Feng's cup with wine. Not to mention little brother, even this old man would be excited when seeing an outstanding supreme treasure. Who didn't want an outstanding supreme treasure? It was a super treasure that could fully display the strength of a 9-star powerhouse. Even a 9-star powerhouse would go crazy after seeing it. Lin Feng asked, "I wonder if Senior White is willing to part with it?" At this time, Bai Feng had already put away the black demon dragon boat. "Brother Lin should have seen that this supreme treasure is not compatible with me, but I still say the same thing. If Brother Lin can exchange for it with an outstanding supreme treasure of equal value, there will naturally be no problem. As for the rest, I'm sorry," Bai Feng said. In one sentence, Lin Feng's other ideas were blocked. For Lin Feng, the best way was naturally to buy it with money and use an elite supreme treasure to exchange for it. After all, he had the most of these two things now. As for outstanding supreme treasures, he did have them, but he could use them. Do I really have to exchange for it with the Mohu Imperial Sword? Lin Feng was a little hesitant. The Mohu Imperial Sword was still very helpful to him, especially the puppet-controlling ability, which directly increased his perception by an entire level. He was about to enter the chaotic void, so it must be of great use. Moreover, even if he was willing, Senior White might not be willing to exchange, because the Mohu Imperial Sword was almost no different from his outstanding supreme treasure. It was equivalent to a chicken rib for Senior White. Chapter 1886. Senior, you really don't want the space crystals and the elite supreme treasure? Lin Feng asked again, unwilling to give up. Bai Feng shook his head, showing a faint smile. He didn't have much hope for this deal. There were only a few 8-star powerhouses in the entire Origin Awakened continent who could take out an outstanding supreme treasure, let alone a little guy. Even if his background was strong, and his master was strong, he wouldn't be so extravagant as to give him an outstanding supreme treasure. 1 billion space crystals. 2 billion space crystals? 3 billion space crystals. Lin Feng kept quoting prices, and the corners of Misty Cloud's mouth twitched as he stared at Lin Feng with wide eyes. What a joke! How could a little guy have so much money? Even Bai Feng was a little scared. Asking for 1 billion space crystals was too terrifying. One had to know that more than 90% of 8-star powerhouses didn't have 1 billion space crystals in their lifetime savings. But now, a little guy could actually quote 3 billion space crystals. 5 billion space crystals? Lin Feng quoted a price again, almost scaring Misty Cloud and Bai Feng. This wasn't buying with money, it was completely throwing money at them. Brother Lin, you really don't show off. Bai Feng smiled bitterly and raised his wine glass. Here's a toast to you. Your price makes my heart tremble. To be honest, if it were 1,000,000 years ago, I might have sold it to you. Little brother should know that powerhouses with strength above 7 stars are basically not short of money. Lin Feng nodded. A 7-star powerhouse could safely enter and exit the 18 heavenly zones. It only took time to make money, but generally no one would waste time on it. After all, every 7-star powerhouse wanted to become an 8-star powerhouse. This was the same as an 8-star powerhouse wanting to cross the bottleneck and become a 9-star powerhouse. A truly suitable treasure can't be bought with money. Bai Feng sighed softly. I'm not young anymore. This trip to the chaotic void is my last chance. To be honest, even if I have 5 billion space crystals, I don't know how to spend them. Little brother, if you have a treasure that suits me, even if there is a small difference, I will accept it. But money really won't do. Lin Feng understood what Senior White meant. What he wanted was a treasure that could increase his strength. He could earn his own money. Forgive Junior for speaking bluntly, but if Senior could exchange for this outstanding supreme treasure, I believe that you would have done so long ago and wouldn't have waited until now, Lin Feng said. There are very few outstanding supreme treasures in Origin Awakening continent, and some of them are very precious. Senior, if you want to exchange for an outstanding true treasure that can be used by both you and the other party, it will be very difficult. Moreover, just as Senior has said, there isn't much time left. We're about to enter the chaotic void space, and it will be the best opportunity for Senior to break through. Lin Feng talked about the pros and cons, persuading Bai Feng. It could be seen that Senior White wanted to exchange for an outstanding treasure. However, if he exchanged for too little, he would feel heartache. If he exchanged for too much, he wouldn't be able to exchange for anything at all. At this moment, Bai Feng's expression was solemn and he did not say a word. However, he knew that Lin Feng was telling the truth. He had been searching for this outstanding true treasure for a long time. Little brother, weren't you in the Destiny domain before? Misty Cloud's eyes lit up as he thought of something. Lin Feng nodded. Didn't little brother kill many powerhouses of the Destiny race before? Misty Cloud stared straight into Lin Feng's eyes and said, Little brother, don't worry, this old man has no ill intentions. Lin Feng nodded. Bai Feng, who was on the side, was shocked. How did you kill them? Whenever the Destiny race dies, they will launch a soul attack. Even if it's an 8-star powerhouse, killing a 7-star powerhouse is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Misty Cloud shrugged. I don't know about this. Junior brother, you might as well ask brother Lin Feng personally. Bai Feng looked over. Lin Feng nodded. There is indeed such a thing. He didn't go into detail. After all, there was no need to explain. However, Senior Misty Cloud's question seemed to have some other meaning. Bai Feng looked excited and asked, if it's true, did little brother obtain the Eye of Destiny? Eye of Destiny? Lin Feng was slightly startled. He thought that Senior White wanted to ask about the Jade Dew Essence. In his opinion, the value of the Eye of Destiny was far inferior to that of the Jade Dew Essence. Yes. Lin Feng nodded. How many? Is there a 7-star Eye of Destiny? Bai Feng's face was red as if he was drunk. He was very anxious. Lin Feng faintly understood. He looked straight at Bai Feng and smiled. There are even 8-star ones. Ignoring Bai Feng's shocked expression, Lin Feng's hand flashed, and a 7-star Eye of Destiny and an 8-star Eye of Destiny appeared. Lin Feng said, Is it this? His. Bai Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. Heavens! It really is the Eye of Destiny. And one of them is even an 8-star Eye of Destiny. One had to know that this was a super treasure that even 9-star powerhouses couldn't obtain. In the Origin Awakened continent, the Eye of Destiny almost didn't exist, let alone be auctioned. The Destiny race was very few in number, and they were very united. They also had a big move like the Death Soul attack. Obtaining the Eye of Destiny was harder than ascending to the heavens. Therefore, there were very few powerhouses who knew the effect of the Eye of Destiny. Little brother, are you willing to sell these 2 Eyes of Destiny to me? You can pay any price. Bai Feng said. Lin Feng smiled in surprise. Bai Feng's old face instantly turned red. He was unwilling to buy the treasure when the other party asked him for money. Now, the tables had turned and it was his turn. For a moment, his face was burning, and he found it hard to speak. Is this so precious? Lin Feng looked at the Eye of Destiny curiously. Originally, he wanted to get it for the Green Tree race, but now it seemed, the value of the Eye of Destiny was quite high. Brother Lin, there is something you don't know. The Eye of Destiny contains extremely pure soul energy. It is an excellent treasure for martial artists who don't have a high soul level but want to break through, Misty Cloud said. Of course, its energy is relatively violent, and it is very dangerous to devour it, but the flaws don't obscure the beauty. In a situation where soul treasures are scarce, whether it is a 7-star or 8-star powerhouse who wants to advance, the soul is an unavoidable hurdle. It is very difficult to advance through cultivation. Lin Feng nodded and understood. It was equivalent to talent. It was difficult to improve one's talent, but it was a wall in the transformation of one's strength. This wall had to be pushed down to move forward. He knew how powerful the soul energy essence of the Eye of Destiny was. Wu Qing relied on the Eye of Destiny to break through and transform. However, it was very dangerous for Wu Qing of the same race to devour it, let alone humans. But from Senior White's eager eyes, it could be seen that he didn't care. He was willing to try. In fact, every martial artist who wanted to break through and transform didn't care about this kind of danger. If it was me, I would also try. Lin Feng was very clear in his heart. Looking at the eager and slightly embarrassed Senior White, Lin Feng picked up the wine glass on the table, took a sip and raised his eyebrows. That expression seemed to be saying, "Now, can we talk about the deal?"